By ordinary standards, I'd say my life was pretty complete. I had a wonderful husband and an outstanding son, even though neither my husband nor my son loved me. Before he died, Jeong-sun held my hand and sighed softly, "If there is another life, don't get involved with me again." When I opened my eyes again, I found myself sitting on the toilet, holding a pregnancy test with 2 lines. The memories of my previous life were still vivid, so I called Jeong-sun. "I'm pregnant. If you want this child, give me 2 million, I'll carry and deliver the baby, you can take care of raising it. If you don't want it, I'm booking an abortion right now." There was a 2-second silence on Jeong-sun's end of the line. "I'm in a meeting, I'll come see you after work." After hanging up, I sat by the bed for a long while. It wasn't until the doorbell rang I paused for a moment, then got up to answer the door. Jeong-sun was standing outside, his suit jacket still draped over one arm, looking at me with a faint expression. He'd clearly come straight over after getting off work. The living room was tiny, the sofa cramped, and Jeong-sun's long legs almost seemed to have nowhere to go. He silently took out a pack of cigarettes, but then seemed to remember that I was pregnant now and put it away again. "What are you thinking?" His tone was calm. "That question should be mine to ask you. After all, I've already told you what I think." Jeong-sun looked up at me, slightly surprised. I understood what surprised him. He didn't love me, but I had loved him for many years. When you're standing before someone you deeply love but who doesn't love you back, you can't help but instinctively become overly accommodating and humble. That's why I've always been so careful, afraid of upsetting Jeong-sun, and rarely ever expressed myself this directly. Jeong-sun asked me, "Do you want to marry me?" "No, that's not what I mean." I touched my lower abdomen, but my emotions remained strangely calm. "This baby is already 5 months along. At this stage, whether I abort him or give birth to him, the damage to my body won't be all that different. If you want this child, I can have him, but once he's born, I won't take care of him, and I won't pay child support, and you'll need to give me compensation." I paused for 2 seconds, then went on, "After all, I only got pregnant because you didn't use protection." Hearing that, Jeong-sun let out a sneer. "You threw yourself into my bed, and now you're blaming me for not using protection. And 2 million, you seem to think very highly of yourself. Even hiring a surrogate overseas wouldn't cost that much. I could even choose the genes and make sure the child is the best possible one." I nodded. "I understand what you mean." I remembered now. Jeong-sun really hadn't wanted a child at first. Even after the child was born, he didn't seem all that happy. It was only later, when the child gradually became sensible, sided with him, grew distant from me, and grew close to the woman Jeong-sun held dear, that his attitude slowly began to change. I had once poured everything I had into this child too, but now, I felt nothing. Whether to have a child or not had nothing to do with feelings anymore. It was only a matter of weighing the pros and cons. Jeong-sun left. I immediately made a gynecology appointment for early the next morning. I got examined and picked up the results. The doctor said I was already well along, so I could only be admitted for surgery, but beds were tight lately, so I'd have to wait my turn, and a family member would need to sign off on the procedure. I lowered my eyes and said softly, "I don't have any family." The doctor gave me a sidelong look and thought for a moment before saying, "It's fine, we can have the medical affairs department handle it then." While waiting for my admission, I asked for leave from work and found a reliable caregiver. In the middle of it all, Jeong-sun called me once, but after I answered, I could only faintly hear him talking to one of his subordinates. He must have pressed it by accident. I hung up and, after thinking it over, deleted all of Jeong-sun's contact information. Since he was someone I didn't plan to contact again, there was no point keeping his number in my phone. Before the hospital admission notice came, I first got a wedding call from my friend. My memories from when I was young are too far back now. Only then did I remember that my friend had indeed told me about her wedding date long ago. In my previous life, I accidentally fell while going downstairs. For the baby's safety, I had no choice but to be hospitalized and stay in bed to protect the pregnancy, and I missed the wedding. In this life, of course, I had to make up for that regret. On the wedding day, I cheerfully handed over a generous red envelope with both hands. My friend pulled me aside and said proudly that she had specially arranged my seat next to Jeong-sun's, so I'd have the perfect chance to get close to him. I thought about it and asked, "Has Suyao come?" "She has." My friend frowned. "Why are you asking about her?" "Switch my seat with Suyao's." "Why?" "Because that way, everyone will be happy." Jeong-sun's feelings for Suyao were no secret, just as my feelings for Jeong-sun were no secret. Suyao turning down Jeong-sun's confession was no secret either. just as Jeong-sun turning me down wasn't. The difference was that Jeong-sun rejected me because he didn't like me. Soo Yao turned Jeong-sun down because she didn't want love to slow her down. She said Jeong-sun came from such an exceptional family that the gap between them was too great. Even if they were attracted to each other at first, it would be hard to make it last. She had her own plans for the future, and Jeong-sun wasn't part of them. Jeong-sun drowned his sorrows for a long time because of it. That absurd night between him and me also happened because Jeong-sun drank a spiked cocktail. I was working part-time as a server at that bar, just to earn more money. I admit that time, I really was out of my mind. I think when two consenting adults are involved, it's no big deal. Are you crazy? Why would you create an opportunity for Su Yao and Jeong-sun? My friend pinched my arm in frustration. Su Yao already said she's going abroad. Jeong-sun can't possibly chase after her, can he? I smiled. In my previous life, Jeong-sun really did chase after her. Back then, I was in the final stage of pregnancy, and it felt like I could go into labor at any moment. Su Yao was mugged overseas and called Jeong-sun in tears, saying she was terrified. The earliest flight was 2 hours later, and only economy seats were left, middle seats. At that, Jeong-sun bought a ticket and left, not even having time to bring a single piece of luggage until Su Yao returned to China. Jeong-sun would fly over to stay for a few days at least once every 3 months, but I didn't really understand Su Yao either. If she truly had feelings for Jeong-sun, she could have asked him to divorce me. Jeong-sun would agree, and so would I, but she didn't. She said that since Jeong-sun had become a husband and a father, he ought to be responsible for me and the child. She and Jeong-sun had always called each other confidants, more than friends, but not quite lovers. Later on, my child came to really like her too. At that point, I thought Jeong-sun and I should probably get divorced. After all, the two of them looked more like a real family of 3. But Su Yao would say to the child, "Sweetheart, your mom has worked so hard taking care of you. When you grow up, you should be extra filial to her." I remembered the time when I was completely heartbroken and took the initiative to ask Jeong-sun for a divorce. Jeong-sun said, "Yao said that you're my wife, and I have a responsibility toward you." The child would say, "Mom, why are you being so unreasonable? Aunt Su Yao said so many nice things about you and even talked Dad into staying by your side. Why are you still so ungrateful?" Was I being unreasonable? Was I really that ungrateful? I felt a little dazed. Xiaokue, what are you spacing out for?" My friend waved a hand in front of me. "I'll ask again. Are you sure you really don't want to sit with Jeong-sun?" I nodded. "Yeah, really, alright, then I'll arrange another seat for you." The new seat was very close to the stage. The lights dimmed, and the ceremony began. The MC was great at tugging at people's heartstrings. As I watched, I couldn't help but tear up. Someone next to me handed over a tissue. I took it a little awkwardly and said, "Thank you." I didn't know anyone at this table. They were probably relatives from the groom's side. I felt pretty embarrassed until the lights came back on. I didn't dare take a close look at the person who had just handed me the tissue. I kept my head down and ate the whole time. I only knew he was a young man, and people kept coming over to chat with him from time to time, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. After the banquet ended, I went to the restroom. While washing my hands, I happened to receive a call from the hospital saying a bed had become available. I immediately replied, "Then I'll come in first thing tomorrow morning to complete the admission process." "When's the earliest the surgery can be done?" "That depends on the doctor, but if the test results are fine, it'll usually be done the day after tomorrow." "Okay, thank you." All of a sudden, a figure appeared beside me. I looked up and saw Jeong-sun lean down slightly, turn on the faucet, and wash his hands unhurriedly. "Didn't you say you were going to get rid of the baby? Why is it only your turn after all these days?" I stared at him in a daze. "You even went out of your way to have someone call you and put on a show in front of me. Su-kue, do you know that your acting is really terrible?" It took me a while to react. Jeong-sun assumed I had answered that call on purpose in front of him. He was absolutely convinced that I would never have the baby aborted. After all, I had finally found a perfect way to keep him tied to me. How could I possibly give it up so easily? I stayed silent and said nothing. In my previous life, it took me decades to understand one thing: in front of someone who hates you, even if you cut out your own heart to prove your innocence, it would still be useless. This time around, I didn't want to cut out my heart again. At a big hospital, it takes a long time to get admitted, but once I was actually admitted, the process moved quickly. That afternoon, the nurse told me to stop eating and drinking and get ready for surgery the next day. I looked at my slightly rounded belly and answered calmly, "After all, it was surgery and I'd be put under anesthesia, so I thought I'd be nervous, but I ended up sleeping surprisingly well that night. Not until I opened my eyes and saw Jeong-sun sitting in the chair by my bed, arms crossed. He was looking at me with a complicated expression, and I had no idea how long he'd been there. I froze for a moment, then slowly sat up. We looked at each other, and it all became clear. Jeong-sun let out a soft sigh. I transferred a 1 million deposit into your account. Don't go through with the surgery, have the baby. Once the baby is born, I'll give you another 5 million in one lump sum. I opened my phone to check, and sure enough, the 1 million had already arrived in my account. I didn't ask Jeong-sun how he got my bank card number after all. In my previous life he transferred household expenses into this card every month for decades. Find me another place to live, I said. I'll tell Aunt Jeong I'm being sent on a year-long assignment, but she has the habit of dropping by my place from time to time. I'm afraid we might run into each other. Jeong-sun gave a quiet Since there was no plan for surgery, I naturally needed to be discharged as soon as possible. Jeong-sun was efficient too. On the day I was discharged, he came to pick me up and said he'd take me to see our new home. The two of us stayed silent all the way. I turned to look out the window. The back seat was roomy enough to put a world of distance between him and me. Sukue, Jeong-sun called me. I turned to look at him. This time, I can believe you really don't intend to keep entangling yourself with me anymore, right? I looked at him quietly. In my previous life, ever since Jeong-sun found out I was pregnant with his child and it was discovered by his parents, his attitude toward me had been full of disgust. For a long time, whenever we were alone, every word he said was laced with thorns. But later, maybe because he was getting older and didn't have as much energy anymore, or maybe it was because Suyao had always stayed by Jeong-sun's side as his confidant, soothing him and putting him at ease, or maybe my day in, day out silence and stillness had finally made him sick of me. He no longer treated me with hostility, all sharp edges and confrontation. In his later years, he even seemed to show me a little of the warmth reserved for family. Jeong-sun, you and I both know very well that our rebirth wasn't meant for us to walk the same old road again. Don't worry, once the child is born, I won't entangle myself with you. For the rest of the pregnancy, we don't need to see each other at all. What we had was a purely transactional relationship. He paid, and I had his child, that was all. 5. The new place Jeong-sun arranged for me was a large apartment in the city center, which made getting around easy and kept me very close to the hospital. He also told me not to go back to work until after the baby was born. I didn't hesitate and quit the job without a second thought. In my last life, I was in a bad emotional state throughout the entire pregnancy, which badly affected both my health and the baby's. In the end, the baby was born prematurely and spent nearly 2 months in an incubator. I also ended up hurting my own body. Of course, I didn't want that kind of ending this time around. On the first of every month, Jeong-sun would faithfully transfer my living expenses to my bank card. In fact, even in my last life, when he despised me the most, he never cut off my financial support. I often thought that if I didn't love Jeong-sun, my life would probably have been much easier. An outstanding, generous man who never goes home. This is every woman's dream. Too bad I once loved him, lost sleep over him, and was heartbroken to the point of agony. I know I could never fall in love with him again, yet every time I see him, I spend my days and nights with him. I feel bitter, miserable, and unwilling to accept it. In the evening, I walked home alone, carrying a box of fruit I had just bought. As the elevator doors opened, I looked up and met the gaze of the man inside. I froze for a second. It wasn't because of any other feeling, just a natural reaction when faced with something beautiful. The man in the elevator was wearing a black suit, had an exceptional presence, and was more handsome than any celebrity. His gaze settled on my face, lingered for 2 seconds, then moved to my stomach. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, he reached out and pressed the open button. Aren't you getting in? Thank you. A little awkwardly, I held my belly and stepped inside. As the elevator went up, I frowned, feeling a faint uneasiness in my stomach. I took 2 deep breaths, but the discomfort didn't ease at all. I was already in the late stages of pregnancy, and anything could happen. I didn't dare take the risk. Holding my phone, I looked up at the man's back. Excuse me, could you please press the first floor for me? He turned around and, seeing that something was wrong with my expression, asked, what's wrong? My stomach. I may need to go to the hospital. As I spoke, I dialed 120, ready to call an ambulance. The man hesitated for 2 seconds, then pressed basement level 1. I looked at him in surprise. I'll take you, that'll be quicker. I pressed my lips together, then still softly said thank you. Being pregnant is a very special situation. Most people don't want to get involved. It's not that they lack empathy, they're just afraid that if something goes wrong, they won't be able to bear the responsibility. That's why I wanted to call 120. Fortunately, the neighborhood was only a 10-minute drive from the hospital. When I got out of the car, the man saw that I was having a bit of trouble moving, so he had the medical staff bring over a wheelchair and push me in for an examination. The cervix has started to dilate a bit. I'm afraid it may be preterm labor. Let's admit you right away, and try to stay in bed as much as possible these next few days. Jeong-sun happened to come in just then and immediately asked, wasn't everything normal at the last prenatal checkup? Why are you suddenly going into preterm labor? There are many possible reasons, and it also has something to do with the mother's own physical condition. Don't worry. Family members, once she's admitted, we can monitor her at any time. Hearing this, Jeong-sun's brow only furrowed even tighter. Sukue, what haven't I taken care of for you? Food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Can't you take a little better care of your own body? Don't forget, your body isn't just yours anymore. Have you forgotten how much your son suffered in the NICU in our past life? He paused, realizing there were some things he couldn't say, and cut himself off mid-sentence. If anything happens to this child, you'll have to pay back every cent I've given you. Don't forget, everything between us is based on the premise that you can give birth to this child safely and soundly. 6. Jeong-sun, you fucking bastard, I'll fight you to the death. I was lying in bed, staring as my friend suddenly sprang out and hurled the Hermes bag in her hand at Jeong-sun's head. The ward instantly descended into chaos. I wanted to get out of bed and stop her, but then I remembered what the doctor had just said, so all they could do was offer useless words of restraint. In the end, it was her friend's husband who came after her and stopped her. The air around Jeong-sun seemed to freeze as he looked coldly at his friend, who still wanted to rush over and hit him. Zhou, have you had enough? Instead of standing up for your best friend, why don't you ask her what shady trick she used to get pregnant with this child? Xiaokue is not that kind of person, from start to finish. Item by item, she was the one who climbed into bed with me. Only after the baby was already 5 months along did she hypocritically say she wanted to abort it. When I refused to marry her, she switched to demanding money instead. She took every last penny of the deposit and living expenses without missing a cent. You say she's not that kind of person, then tell me, what kind of person is she? Zhou fell silent. The kind man who had brought me to the hospital happened to appear at that moment. He hesitated for a moment, torn between coming in and leaving. Then after a 2-second pause chose to stand by the doorway. I slowly loosened my grip on the bedsheet and opened my mouth. That night, you'd been drugged. After I drove those women away, I didn't get you to the hospital in time. You looked like you were in terrible pain, and I liked you so much that I willingly became your antidote. I admit what I did wasn't exactly above board, but you were single, and I don't think that makes me morally reprehensible. The next day I took a morning after pill. I also bled later on, and my periods have never been regular anyway. On top of that, the company was swamped those few months. I didn't vomit, I wasn't sleepy, and my stomach had only gotten a little bigger. I thought I'd just gained weight from overworking. By the time I realized something was wrong, the baby was already 5 months along. Jeong-sun, you and I both know that the child I carried for 10 months and nearly lost my life giving birth to is your child alone. He would never acknowledge me as his mother. If he had a choice, I think he'd rather his mother were Su Yao. If you hadn't wanted to keep him, I would have aborted this child long ago. So from that perspective, I don't think asking for a little compensation is unreasonable. I wasn't gouging anyone, and I thought the price I asked for was reasonable. You did give me more than necessary, but to you, that money wasn't a big deal, so I accepted it without any guilt. If you regret it, I paused, a bitter smile tugging at my lips. If you regret it, then there's nothing I can do about that. Jeong-sun clenched the fingers hanging at his side into a fist. You're just making excuses. Do you think I'd believe that? I never expected you to believe me. In fact, until today, I had never defended myself in front of you even once. I looked at Zhou and slowly smiled. You, do you believe me? Are you fucking stupid? You ruined yourself over some man. I was held tightly in her arms, listening to her sob uncontrollably, and I gave a faint smile. You was right, I really was too stupid. 7. I'd been in the hospital for nearly a month, spending almost all my time in bed. When lying there got unbearable, I'd only be helped out of bed by a caregiver to take a few steps. Even so, the baby still came a week earlier than the due date. Labor suddenly started at noon. but fortunately everyone was there and mentally prepared. When I was wheeled into the delivery room, I was still a little nervous. I guess the agony of giving birth in my previous life had left me with some lingering trauma. The assistant took the surgery consent form and went around looking for someone to sign it, only to find that no one had the authority, so he brought it back to me. "Isn't the baby's father right outside?" the doctor asked. Lifting his eyelids, I gritted my teeth through the contractions, my hand shaking as I wrote my name, then took a breath and gave a wry smile. "We never got married, so legally we have nothing to do with each other." But I wasn't laughing for long. At the most painful moment, I almost heard death calling me again. "I can see the head, give it one more push, hang in there, inhale, exhale, Sukue, you can do it." My fingertips tore through the bedsheet, and I let out a blood-curdling scream. At some point, I suddenly felt completely relieved, as if I had been set free. It was as if the thread that had been binding me all along finally snapped, and I was reborn. 6 Gene and 8 tails, a boy. The nurse brought the baby over to me so I could take a look. Sweating all over, I slowly turned my head away. "I won't look," I said softly. "Take him out. His father will take care of him." The professional baby nurse was already in place, waiting for this child to be born. "Have you picked out a name for the baby?" "Yeah, his name is Jiangqi, 8. Since it was a natural birth, I recovered quickly. By the next day, I was finally able to get out of bed and move around slowly. My friend was playfully teasing the baby swaddled beside the bed. She had no idea what would happen later. She simply thought the baby was adorable because he was my child. "Xiaokue, are you really not going to keep this baby?" she asked, still a little torn. "He's so cute. If you can't handle taking care of him on your own, I can help too." We agreed before he was born that I'd only be responsible for giving birth, and Jiang-sun would be responsible for raising him. They say blood ties run deep. I used to believe that too. I once poured all my heart and soul into this child because he was born premature. He was in and out of the hospital practically every few days until he was 3, even with a nanny helping out. I still hardly ever got a full night's sleep. He was very clingy when he was little too. No matter how much fun he was having with the nanny, the moment he saw me, he'd pout and reach out for me to hold him. I'd always had the thought of divorcing Jiang-sun, but out of consideration for Aunt Zhang's feelings, I could never bring myself to say it out loud. I didn't want to put her in a difficult position. After the child was born, I figured that, in truth, living together as a pair wasn't necessarily impossible. But Jiangqi and Jiang-sun really were father and son. They looked alike, had similar personalities, and even liked and disliked the same things. I'd seen photos of Jiang-sun and Suya taking Jiangqi to the amusement park. What a harmonious family of 3. They were practically made for each other. That place was never mine to begin with. It was simply by chance that I ended up occupying it in this second chance at life. Some people and some things can finally be put back on track. 9 Jiang-sun came on the day I was discharged. 2. The baby had just been fed and was sleeping soundly in the nanny's arms. Jiang-sun glanced at the baby, his expression somewhat complicated. After a long silence, he finally said, "After all, he is your child too. If you ever want to see him, you can come to me." "No need," I cut Jiang-sun off. "The moment he left my womb, there was nothing left between us. Don't worry, if we ever run into each other in the future, I'll act like I don't know you." I'm not sure what's going on between you and Suya now, but in the previous life, she really liked Jiangqi and even became the child's godmother. This life, even if it's asking her to be a stepmother, she's still been raising the child by her side since birth. There's no difference from being his biological mother. Congratulations. At last, the 3 of you can be a family of 3 in the truest sense. My congratulations were sincere. I'd like to stay in that house for 1 more month and move back after my confinement. Is that okay? I asked Jiang-sun. Jiang-sun seemed like he wanted to say something, but in the end he just nodded in silence. "Thanks, then I'll be going now." Wearing postpartum clothes and a maternity cap, I slowly left with the help of the postpartum nanny as promised. The final payment had already been transferred to my card on the day the baby was born. As long as I don't buy a house, this savings will be enough for me to live comfortably for the rest of my life. Once I've finished my confinement and moved out of this house, Jiang-sun and I can be completely cut off for good. 10 On the day my confinement ended, I got myself ready, prepared a small gift, and knocked on the door of the neighbor upstairs. I should have thanked him a long time ago. If he hadn't rushed me to the hospital that day, I might not have been able to keep the baby. I'd been hospitalized for a long time afterward to recover, and since he'd stumbled upon my embarrassing situation, I couldn't help feeling a little self-conscious, but in any case, I owed him a proper thank you. When the door opened and Lu Lian saw it was me, he didn't look surprised at all. Instead, he stepped aside politely and invited me in to sit. For a while I hesitated for 2 seconds, then went inside. Coffee or tea? Which would you like? Just water, thanks. I sat down on the sofa a little awkwardly. When I saw Lu Lian bring over a glass of water, I quickly stood up and took it with both hands. No need to be so nervous, I don't bite, Lu Lian said with a smile. He was wearing dark gray loungewear, and a pair of rimless glasses sat on the bridge of his nose, softening the aura he usually gave off. I came today mainly to thank you. Thank you for taking me to the hospital back then, and for calling IU. At the time, things were urgent, and I thought it'd be better to have a family member there with you. Lu Lian's tone was very gentle. We happened to meet once at Yu's wedding, and since I knew you two were close, I took the liberty of calling her. I'm glad you don't blame me. How could I blame you? I shook my head hard. I'm just terribly embarrassed that I made you witness such an ugly scene. After a pause, I added, Ayu is just too kind. She felt sorry for me. So she's been looking out for me ever since college. Ayu also tried to talk me out of all that mess with the father of my child for a long time, but I can be stubborn sometimes. Once I set my mind on something, I won't turn back until I hit a dead end. That day at the hospital, I learned Lu Lian's identity from Ayu. He was the cousin of Ayu's husband, and the head of the entire Lu family. Ayu's husband also worked under him. I didn't care how Lu Lian saw me, but I was afraid that because of my own messy affairs, he might end up doubting Ayu's character too. In her previous life, Ayu had said the same thing too. Although she and her husband were perfectly in sync, in a large family, there were bound to be some ugly sides. Building a good relationship with Lu Lian could only bring benefits, not drawbacks. Lu Lian didn't respond to me, only picked up the gift box in front of him. What is this? It's a fountain pen. I couldn't quite figure out Lu Lian's preferences, and I was worried he'd think I had ulterior motives. Cufflinks, ties, and the like would be too intimate. After thinking it over, a fountain pen seemed like the best choice. He could use it, and the price was within my budget too. What are your plans next, Miss Sue? Lu Lian asked me. I'm moving out tomorrow. I'm planning to find a livable southern city first and take some time to recover. I smiled. Once I'm feeling better, I'll start looking for a job again. Lu Lian thought for a moment and handed me a business card. If you need any help, you can come to me. How could I possibly accept that? Ayu is my sister-in-law, and you're her friend. It's no trouble at all, so there's no need to be polite. I took the business card and carefully put it in my wallet. It wasn't really that I wanted to ask him for help. Rather, Lu Lian was subtly telling me this way that he didn't mind my business, and that he wouldn't hold it against you just because of me. At last, I could breathe easy. 11. The first thing I did after moving back home was go see Aunt Jiang, whom I hadn't seen in many days. Even though after being reborn I kept messaging and video calling Aunt Jiang every few days, seeing her in person had still been separated by many years. Aunt Jiang was far too sharp. In my previous life, she saw at a glance that I was pregnant and said it outright. Don't bother trying to hide it from me. The father of this child can only be Jiang's son, so for the rest of my life, I didn't dare gamble on even the slightest possibility. Aunt Jiang was thrilled when she heard I'd finished my overseas assignment and said she'd cook personally to welcome me home. I specially bought a beautiful bouquet of carnations and dressed myself up nicely. When the front door opened and I saw Aunt Jiang, still so young, my tears suddenly came pouring down. You're a grown woman now. Why do you still cry so easily? Aunt Jiang scolded me, though she was crying too. I said I'd come see you, but you always said you were too busy with work and wouldn't let me go. Let me see, have you gotten thinner again? She didn't have the heart to finish the sentence. I had only just finished my confinement period, so of course my body couldn't recover that quickly. I had gained a little weight compared with before, and I'd even put on makeup on purpose, so I looked especially healthy and radiant. See, haven't I put on a lot of weight? I sniffled and said sweetly, a little extra weight is good. Young girls these days are thin as skeletons. I don't like that. A little plump is good. It means good fortune. Don't just stand at the door. Come in and sit down. Dinner will be ready soon. I changed my shoes. As soon as I walked in, I saw Jiang Sun sitting on the sofa. The scene just now had clearly been seen in full. 12. It was only during dinner that I learned why Jiang Sun was here today too. What a coincidence. He had chosen this very day to come back and confess to Aunt Jiang that he had a child. As for who the child's mother was, he wouldn't say a word if he hadn't had to consider my welcome home dinner. Aunt Jiang would have been chasing Jiang Sun down 3 streets with a feather duster by now. While Jiang Sun was in the bathroom, Aunt Jiang quietly asked me whether I knew about the child. I shook my head in silence. Aunt Jiang let out a long sigh. Xiaokue, I'm the one who's let you down. I never raised my son properly. My fingertips trembled, and I nearly lost control of my emotions again. In my previous life, Aunt Jiang had said this too. She and my mother had once been close friends, yet their lives had gone in completely opposite directions. My mother had trusted the wrong man. The one she married cheated and gambled away whatever he had. Aunt Jiang was a committed single. After an unexpected pregnancy, she chose to keep the child, but she still remained only in a relationship with Jiang Sun's biological father as his mistress. Later, when my mother died unexpectedly, Aunt Jiang rushed over as soon as she heard the news, but she still never got to see my mother one last time. By then, it had been nearly 8 years since they last saw each other. Before she died, my mother said with certainty that Aunt Jiang would take care of me. Back then, I didn't believe her. My unusual family situation made me grow up too soon. I couldn't understand how love could sour so easily. Even when people were together day in and day out, a family bond that hasn't been maintained for a full 8 years is probably long past its expiration date. But Aunt Jiang came all the way here and demanded that my father give her custody of me. My father agreed. I didn't. It was simple. I didn't want to let my father profit off me. The condition for him agreeing to let Aunt Jiang take me away was that she pay him a hefty sum of so-called living expenses. Aunt Jiang, I'm already 12 now. You don't need to worry about me. I can take care of myself, I said after thinking it over. If you're really worried I won't be doing well, just come by once in a while and buy me some clothes and daily necessities. When I turn 18 and become an adult, I'll come to you then. Your dad would beat you to death, Aunt Jiang said worriedly. No, I'm much faster now. He can't catch me. And sure enough, things turned out exactly as I expected. I cut off my father's source of income, and he chased me for 3 blocks. In the end, he broke a leg and spent 3 months in bed. For everything, eating, drinking, even using the bathroom, he had to rely on me. I asked him if he was still going to hit me. He went quiet. 13. I've always thought the reason I fell so deeply for Jiang Sun was really because of Aunt Jiang. He was Aunt Jiang's son. When she came to visit me, she would sometimes bring him along. Appear from a big city, stylishly dressed and strikingly handsome. When we met, he showed no trace of arrogance, and politely called me little Kuei. How could I ever hold back my feelings for him? But as time went on and things changed, that original fluttering in my heart was no longer what it had once been. Aunt Jiang found out I was pregnant and forced Jiang Sun to take responsibility for me. Jiang Sun kept flying abroad again and again, perhaps for Su Yao, but whether there was also resentment toward Aunt Jiang in it, I had no way of knowing. Aunt Jiang always said she felt she had let me down. She said she had not raised her son properly, and that she would never have the face to stand before my mother. I couldn't bear to see her upset. She had already been more than good enough to me. To me, she was like a second mother. So I begged Jiang Sun, sincerely and humbly, I know, I shamelessly climbed into your bed, and then I used Aunt Jiang as an excuse to force you to marry me, but Aunt Jiang is getting old, and she has high blood pressure. At least let's pretend to be affectionate in front of Aunt Jiang, please. I'd admit to every accusation. As long as Jiang Sun would play along with me, I'd do anything. 14. In the evening, I took the initiative to say goodbye. Aunt Jiang wanted me to stay the night, but I said there was still some work at the company. This time I had just come back temporarily to take a few days off, and I'd have to go back out on a business trip afterward. You youngsters shouldn't push yourselves so hard, don't wear your bodies out. Aunt Jiang held my hand reluctantly. Wait a moment, I'll have the driver take you back. I'll take you, Jiang Sun said proactively. It's on my way. Jiang Auntie looked a little surprised. Ever since I came of age, Jiang Auntie had been trying to set me up with Jiang Sun. After Jiang Sun realized that, he kept his distance from me whenever Jiang Auntie was around, and he almost never had moments this proactive. The atmosphere fell into an eerie silence for 2 seconds, and I took the lead. Then I'll leave it to you, Jiang Auntie. Goodbye. Okay, text me when you get home. It had been a long time since I last rode in a car Jiang Sun was driving. The reason, I suppose, was that we didn't have any trips that required us to go out alone in private. The kid's been a little fussy lately, probably finding the car too quiet. Jiang Sun brought up a topic on his own. He's always crying, and he's really hard to calm down. Was he this hard to handle in his previous life too? Those things were so long ago that I've already forgotten. Su Kuei, are you serious? Jiang Sun hit the brakes. He's your biological child, after all, so, I admit, In my previous life I was indeed somewhat prejudiced against you, the child was influenced by me, and they also had many misunderstandings about you, but since heaven has given us a chance to start over, is it possible that I lived this life over again, not to repeat the same mistakes? Jeong-sun frowned. How would that be, repeating the same mistakes? We already cleared everything up between us. I reached out to open the car door, but Jeong-sun was faster than me and locked the door. I stopped, silent for 2 seconds, then turned and looked at him. Calmly, Jeong-sun, what do you mean? For some reason, Jeong-sun changed the subject. It just occurred to me, you seem like you've never cried in front of me. Why not? I must have done a lot of things to hurt you. He kept staring at me stubbornly, as if I wouldn't be able to leave today unless I gave him an answer. What good are tears? They're just a physiological response, they can't ease the pain. The people who love you will feel sad when they see you cry, and the people who don't will only get annoyed. As for me, I don't want to make the people who love me sad, and I don't want the people who don't love me to hate me even more, that's all. But you cried today, Jeong-sun said softly, you cried so sadly in front of your mother. Why? I withdrew my gaze and quietly looked ahead. Yeah, why? I murmured. Why was my first feeling when I saw her a crushing wave of grievance. 15. The day I left. The sun was shining brightly at the airport. You held my hand, reluctant to let go. She said she'd come visit me once I'd settled in. Sure, I nodded, but maybe I'll be back in a few months. I just wanted to spend some time living in a city that suited me, without the pressure of making ends meet, and properly take care of my health. It's not like I'm never coming back. In the waiting lounge, I unexpectedly ran into Su Yao. Since my rebirth, I had never made a point of looking into Su Yao's whereabouts. In the previous timeline, around this time, she should have been robbed overseas, and then Jeong-sun went over to comfort her, but since Jeong-sun had also been reborn, he probably wouldn't easily start a long-distance relationship with Su Yao. Maybe their relationship had made some new progress. To my surprise, Su Yao greeted me first, then she asked me, Jeong-sun has a child now. Are you the child's biological mother? I looked at her, startled. So it's not you, then? Su Yao sounded a little disappointed. There was no hostility between us, we only knew each other because we'd both been involved with the same man. She sat down beside me and said matter-of-factly, last month, I confessed my feelings to Jeong-sun. He turned me down because he already has a child, but he isn't married, and he's never publicly announced a relationship. I figured he probably isn't with the child's mother, so I told him I wouldn't mind being a stepmother if he was willing. Guess what Jeong-sun said? Su Yao gave a self-deprecating smile. He said he wasn't willing. Funny, isn't it? Back then he went to such lengths to win me over, and I couldn't have cared less. Now I'm even willing to swallow my pride and be a stepmother, and he doesn't want that anymore. He actually said, the child already has a mother and doesn't need a stepmother. I thought the child's biological mother was you, Su Yao said softly. At least then I could make sense of it. I couldn't help laughing. How does this end up being my fault too? She glanced at me. What, do you think I'm so above it all that I'd turn down a rich, handsome guy who's completely devoted to me just to chase independence? Isn't it just because men have that flaw in their nature? If they get you too easily, they won't cherish you. Which do you think is more unforgettable, not getting something, or getting it and then losing it? I couldn't quite follow what she was saying, and just then a flight attendant came over to remind us to board, so I took the chance to say goodbye. By the time I got on the plane, someone was already in the seat next to mine. I walked over, and the other person happened to look up at the same time. Miss Su, Mr. Liu, what a coincidence. Yes, I sat down beside Lu Lian. The plane taxied along the runway, then lifted into the air. The weather is lovely today, Lu Lian said softly, gazing at the white clouds outside the window. I heard it's raining at our destination, I said with a smile. But that doesn't matter, rain has its own charm, and besides, the skies will clear sooner or later. Just like I never imagined that after decades of a damp, miserable life, this day of rebirth would also bring clear skies. The end. Story 2. I've loved Pei Yenshin for 10 years. When his grandmother was critically ill, I covered the 200,000 medical bill. Out of perceived obligation, he agreed to be with me the next day. The whole school branded me as someone who leveraged favors, unworthy of his radiant perfection. With my dying breath, I asked Pei Yenshin if he'd ever loved me. He hesitated, then looked down at the brooch pinned to his clothes, a gift from the unattainable love of his life. With a bittersweet smile, I whispered, Pei Yenshin, let's not meet again in the next life. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the start of university. Everything was still within reach. The stench of disinfectant hung in the air like a rusty knife, scraping at my nostrils, nestled in Pei Yenshin's arms. I listened to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath his shirt. The blue crystal brooch on his chest glinted coldly, a birthday gift from his unattainable muse in France, now dangling perilously close to my heart like a silent taunt staring at his lowered lashes. I suddenly laughed. The sound startled him, making water slosh from his glass onto my hand, icy and numbing, just like his responses all these years. Pei Yenshin. I gripped his sleeve with all my strength. Did you ever love me? Outside, the rain intensified abruptly, hammering against the window panes. His Adam's apple bobbed violently, that same hesitant look from a decade ago in early autumn when his grandmother was in ICU. I wrote a 200,000 yuan check right in front of several people to cover the medical bills later. He stood beneath the cherry blossoms and said, "Let's be together." But the reluctance in his eyes was more piercing than the withering petals overhead, yet I failed to see it. The next day, the whole school was gossiping about me using favors as leverage. Memories came flooding back. Countless nights I waited outside his lab until he finished debugging the final line of code, the time I scoured half the city for his favorite chestnut cake on his birthday only to find him laughing intimately with Xiaoyan at the cafe even on her deathbed. His grandmother held my hand and whispered, "You've endured too much, enough." My grip loosened, the strength draining from my fingertips. The sapphire brooch swayed on his chest, its gleam suddenly unbearable to my eyes. The ventilator blared its shrill alarm, nurses' hurried footsteps growing louder as they rushed in, yet I felt strangely calm. Turns out when death knocks, life's truths become crystal clear, like how he probably never loved me, like how I spent a lifetime chasing after someone who'd never turn around. Pei Yenshin, let's not meet in the next life, I mouthed silently to him as my last shred of consciousness faded. I heard frantic shouts blending with the heart monitor's endless flatline in that final moment. Before darkness consumed me, my mind still wandered. That panicked voice didn't sound like Pei Yenshin at all. It resembled my attending physician Su Jiha, that perpetually gentle man whose presence felt like spring sunshine when the fragrance of plain tree leaves mingled with September sunlight exploded across my senses. My eyes flew open. The early autumn sun beat down, making the warm welcome class of 20XX banner on the freshman orientation archway sting my eyes beneath the shadow of my cap. Brim, Su Wenji, heatstroke. My roommate Xiaowei's voice floated down with concern. Tilting my head up, I suddenly saw her face, once blurred in memory, now so vividly clear I could spot the gold glitter clinging to her lashes. Just dizzy from the sun, I forced a smile, pushing myself up from the steps. The coppery taste of death still lingered in my throat. "Hey, Junior, wanna join computer club?" The golden-haired Zhou Yi materialized, blocking my path with flyers as his silver bracelet jingled. "Let's swap WeChat while we're at it." I froze momentarily, about to refuse when this scene suddenly flashed through my mind. A cool voice came from behind. "Zhou Yi, don't scare the freshman." Pei Yenshin stood beneath the tree shade, the wind lifting a corner of his white shirt to reveal his lean waist, cradling a stack of books. His distant gaze cast shadows beneath his lashes, exactly as I remembered. It was this very moment in my past life, the way he came to my rescue, that plunged me into a decade-long obsession. This once heart-fluttering scene now only reminds me of his evasive eyes in the hospital room. "Thanks, senior, I'm planning to join the finance club." I sidestepped Zhou Yi but accidentally bumped into Pei Yenshin's shoulder as he walked by. He staggered back half a step in surprise, dropping the books he was carrying, instinctively bending to pick them up. Our fingertips brushed against the damp pavement. That familiar electric tingle shooting through my skin carried echoes of past flutters, now tempered with post-rebirth clarity. "Sorry." Clutching my backpack, I straightened up and hurried away, my pulse hammering not from attraction, but dread, the fear of falling into that tender snare again. Behind me, Zhou Ye's complaint rang out. "Pei, you ruined my chances again." He gave no reply, only the fading patter of retreating footsteps hiding in the school restroom. I panted before the mirror. The girl reflected had porcelain skin and star-bright eyes, nothing like my past self, pale and haggard from love's torment, splashing icy water from the tap. I glared at my reflection and enunciated, "Su Wenji, this time you'll burn fiercely for yourself, only yourself." I've severed all possible connections to Pei Yenshin from my past life, choosing existence without his presence, as if tranquility had finally settled over my world. No more exhausting myself to please him, no more strategizing how to preserve his pride while offering help, no more straining To decipher what his circle thought of me, no more forcing myself to grasp computer science beyond my expertise, no more relentless self-deprecation that reduced me to nothing but inherited wealth. I immersed myself in studying professional knowledge, competing in academic contests, spending hours in the library, and gaining hands-on experience. My life was fulfilling yet simple. Occasionally, thinking about my past life feels surreal. Though I lost my mother young, I was truly my father's cherished treasure, never enduring real hardship. How could I have tolerated it all those times? I shake my head with a bitter smile. During afternoon calculus, I deliberately took the back row. Sunlight filtered through the window lattices, casting dappled shadows on my textbook as I worked through equations with a pencil. Suddenly, familiar voices carried from behind me. Yenshin, heard you turn down the computer science goddess. Zhou Ye's booming voice cut through. Pei Yenshin's reply was low, edged with subtle irritation. Less talking, reading financial modeling. The pencil slipped from my fingers and clattered to the ground. This scene had never appeared in my memories. In my past life, he should have been in the laboratory at this very moment, discussing artificial intelligence algorithms with his white moonlight. Xiaoyan. After class, I headed to the library with my textbooks in hand. The early autumn wind swirled fallen leaves on the ground as I crunched across the golden ginkgo leaves when suddenly I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Su Wenji, Pei Yenshin's voice came, slightly breathless. When I turned around, he was bending down to pick up the calculus notes I had accidentally dropped. Our eyes met on the title page of the notebook, where I had written a small line in my past life. To the light I can never catch up to. It was popular to write angsty youth literature back then, and I had just randomly copied that line. But why do I feel somehow hurt by my past self? Thanks. I reached for it, but he suddenly clenched the notebook tighter, his knuckles turning white from the strain. Su Wenji, you weren't at the freshman orientation. I paused briefly before replying. I wasn't feeling well that day, so I skipped it. Is something wrong, senior? His pupils contracted as he stood frozen for a moment, until Zhou Ye's distant shout snapped him out of it. Pei, what are you doing? The basketball game's about to start. He released his grip as if waking from a dream, leaving distinct fingerprints on the notebook. Nothing. He turned to leave but suddenly looked back. There's a stargazing event at the college tonight. If you're free, Junior, you could join. Might help you settle into university life faster. Watching his kindness, I suddenly remembered our past life. That summer night when I'd asked him to stargaze on the rooftop, he'd agreed, only to ditch me after I'd dressed up, choosing instead to accompany his childhood friend Xiaoyan to a coding competition. Not going, I declined with a smile. I've got financial modeling training at the lab tonight. As I walked away, I might have imagined the flicker of disappointment in his eyes, chuckling to myself. I refused to overthink it. The late-night hospital stood like an isolated island, fluorescent lights casting a sterile glow over the keyboard. I'd signed up for the National Financial Modeling Competition, with only 3 days left until deadline, staring at the flickering data on screen. I could feel my temples throbbing. When I scrapped the model for the 7th time, the moon had already climbed to its zenith, its silver light slicing diagonally across the windowsill to gild the edges of my draft papers. Now I'm at City Hospital A, having gloriously developed a fever after consecutive all-nighters preparing materials and running calculations. My roommate forcibly dragged me here, calling it seeking professional treatment. The hospital door clicked open, letting in a gust of chilly air laced with the scent of milk. Without looking up, I called out, Xiaowei, I told you not to wait for me. A steaming cup of milk appeared at the corner of my desk, its condensation forming tiny beads that left dark rings on my spreadsheets. Your formula derivation is incorrect, a voice remarked. My head snapped up, meeting a pair of amber eyes. The guy wore a crisp white coat, his mask dangling carelessly below a sharply defined jawline. His finger tapped lightly on my notebook as his sleeve slid back, revealing medical rubber bands coiled around his wrist that swayed with the movement. The risk coefficient here requires Monte Carlo simulation, he declared matter-of-factly, plucking my fountain pen to scribble across scratch paper with rhythmic scratching sounds. Watching his fluid calculations, the fan-shaped shadows cast by his lashes suddenly reminded me of Pei Yenshin's indifference. That same late night when I was curled in a lab corner feverishly revising my thesis, while he video called his white moonlight. Got it. He abruptly looked up, the pen tip hovering before my eyes. Only then did I notice his impossibly long lashes, gilded amber under the light like butterflies poised for flight. How did you know I was working on this? I instinctively recoiled, my lower back bumping into the bed frame. He snorted with laughter, fishing out a strawberry candy from his lab coat pocket. Its wrapper refracting rainbows under the light. Divine providence. My throat tightened as I stared at that candy. Strawberry was my favorite. Thanks, Sujiha. I took the scratch paper he handed me, my eyes glancing at his name tag. His face lit up like a little sunbeam at my words. So you've been keeping tabs on me. Back in med school they called me One Cut Sue. I remove appendixes faster than slicing cake. How could I not recognize him? He was my attending physician in my past life. Sujiha, the youngest attending physician at City A Hospital, hailed as the shining scalpel of municipal medicine. The memory of Sujiha from my past life made me chuckle, the tension in my nerves suddenly melting away. Swiveling the chair toward himself, he sat down as the hem of his white coat fluttered, carrying a faint antiseptic scent. Honestly, I'd been observing you for a while now. At that finance lecture last time, I was covering for my cousin. You took notes faster than I dissect frogs. A thunderclap suddenly boomed outside as torrential rain began pouring down. When he stood to close the window, I caught a glimpse of the stethoscope peeking from his coat pocket, its metal head glinting faintly in the dark. That detail sent a shiver through me. It was the same stethoscope-clad figure that had kept vigil by my sickbed in my past life when I was gravely ill. Midnight snack. He magically produced 2 packs of instant noodles, pickled cabbage and Sichuan pepper beef. I stared into his sparkling eyes, pointing at the Sichuan pepper beef. I said okay. This flavor then, and proceeded to make myself a bowl without waiting. I thought I got 1 pack. Normally you could have some, but you're sick now. Better cut back on this junk food. Never thought you'd be like this. Sujiha. As the rain tapered off, he slid the clean scratch paper toward me, fingertips still stained with instant noodle seasoning. You'll likely be discharged tomorrow. Hope I won't see you here again, Suwenji. He put on a stern face deliberately. If I catch you here again, your punishment will be listening to 20 obscure medical facts. The ward door clicked shut behind him as I cradled the still warm milk glass. His annotations sprawled across the draft paper. Those flamboyant strokes seemed to hold a glow gentler than moonlight. Streetlights shimmered in the puddles outside, and it struck me how perfectly this downpour had come, drenching old regrets while washing the path for new beginnings. Autumn rain pattered against my umbrella as I trudged through puddles back to campus after the Xinhua Group interview. As a city's largest financial firm, Xinhua offered direct internship placements for university students, though few freshmen dared apply this early. Su Wenji was walking when her phone vibrated in her bag. Glancing down, she saw the second-round interview acceptance email, and a faint smile unconsciously curled at the corners of her lips. Oblivious to their presence, Zhou Yi, Pei Yenshin, Xiao Yan, and the student council vice president stood not far behind her. Zhou Yi spotted Su Wenji first. Hey, isn't that freshman Su Wenji? Why's she always alone? Didn't even show up to orientation. Is she just antisocial or what? The vice president adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, gaze fixed on Su Wenji. Ever consider she might choose not to blend in? Different social circles. What circles? Everyone gets along if they just hang out. Zhou Yi dismissed with a shrug. The vice president chuckled lightly. That bag she's carrying is a limited edition from Brand A, only 3 released worldwide. Worth at least 7 figures, and her outfit, custom haute couture from the Golden Jade Atelier, even getting on their waiting list takes half a year. Only the elite can afford their services. Xiao Yan, dressed in an understated sundress, nervously twisted the hem of her skirt. No wonder she seems aloof. She's practically aristocracy. Getting into our school must have been a breeze for someone like her, right? Pei Yenshin, who had remained silent until now, frowned slightly. Don't make assumptions about people before understanding their circumstances. Though spoken softly, his words carried an icy finality. Xiao Yan's face paled, oblivious to the tense atmosphere. Zhou Ye's eyes lit up. Perfect timing running into you, Junior. Let's grab lunch together. With quickened steps, he caught up, hearing footsteps behind her. Su Wenji turned to see Zhou Ye's enthusiastic smile and the group standing behind him. The vice president studied her thoughtfully. Xiao Yan's gaze held complex emotions, while Pei Yenshin stood in the shadows. Their eyes briefly met before he quickly looked away. Come eat with us, Junior. There's this amazing new private kitchen by the school gate, Zhou Yi said cheerfully. I was about to decline, but on second thought, constant refusals would seem impolite, so I nodded in agreement. In the restaurant, the crystal chandelier cast a soft glow. Zhou Yi enthusiastically described the dishes while Xiao Yan half-heartedly chatted about campus gossip. The vice president occasionally tossed out conversation topics, though his gaze kept studying Xiaoyan's reactions. Pei Yenshin sat across from me in complete silence, only occasionally lifting his eyes before quickly lowering them again during her meal. Su Wenji received a message from Su Jihe. She took out her phone. I'm having tea at Jia Garden, want to join? Su Wenji raised an eyebrow. What a coincidence, Jia Garden was nearby. What are your hobbies, Junior? Xiaoyan suddenly asked. I always see you in the library. Su Wenji stirred the miso soup with a teaspoon, the steam fogging up her glasses. I occasionally study financial models, and I also like, she looked up at Xiaoyan, observing interesting people. Take that incident in my past life where I covered Pei Yenshin's grandmother's medical bills, only a handful of people knew about it, yet by the next day the whole school was buzzing. The source, none other than this demure, charming girl standing before me. Oblivious to the tension, Zhou Yi barged in cheerfully. Speaking of financial models, our advisor's specialty is investments, but Brother Pei's been obsessing over. Xiaoyan suddenly interjected. Yenshin, Mom said she misses you. You should visit us during National Day break. Before Pei Yenshin could respond, Zhou Yi chimed in. Ah, childhood sweethearts have all the perks. Pei Yenshin chimed in. Can't make it. Got things to handle during the National Day break. Xiaoyan nodded with a smile. Same here. That's exactly what I told my mom. Just swamped with daily routines. Watching this scene, I smiled faintly without a word. Such a familiar sight. The only difference was my heart no longer stirred. After dinner, everyone stepped out of the restaurant, discussing how to get back. I said, don't worry about me, my friend is picking me up. Someone's coming to get you. Zhou Yi asked curiously, a guy or a girl? A guy, I replied tersely, unaware that Pei Yenshin's hand had suddenly clenched. Xiaoyan noticed his unusual reaction, a flicker of jealousy and confusion flashing through her eyes. The vice president gazed thoughtfully at Pei Yenshin, a knowing smile playing at the corners of his lips. Before long, Su Jihe's car arrived, holding an umbrella with his hair slightly damp from the rain. His gentle demeanor remained undiminished. He walked over and naturally took my handbag, saying, waiting long. It's raining, let's get going. As he spoke, he tilted the umbrella toward me, shielding me like an embrace while keeping the passing crowd at bay. I nodded to the group. Thanks for the hospitality, seniors, I'll take my leave now. As I walked away, I missed Zhou Yi scratching his head asking, Bro Pei, what's wrong? You look pale. Pei Yenshin clenched his fists, nails nearly digging into his palms. It's nothing, let's go. He strode off first. The rain continued as I sat in the car, listening to Su Ji's gentle inquiries about the interview. In the rearview mirror, Pei Yenshin stood at the restaurant entrance, his silhouette stretched long by the streetlight, radiating profound solitude. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead in the lecture hall as I flipped to a fresh notebook page, fountain pen hovering, awaiting the finance department's star professor. The front rows were packed with bespectacled top students. The faint osmanthus breeze carried tranquility, an academic ambience I'd never truly appreciated in my past life. Today's discussion focuses on. The professor's words were cut short by screeching plastic chairs. Without turning, I knew Zhou Yi was at it again, coaxing Pei Yenshin to skip class. For some reason, I kept running into Pei Yenshin and Zhou Yi, and each time, they were never far from me. Bro Pei, this lecture's boring as hell, let's ditch it for gaming. Zhou Yi's voice cut through the silent classroom like a knife. Front row students turned with frowns that instantly softened when they saw Pei Yenshin. After all, that face was impossible for anyone, man or woman, to resist. My grip tightened around the pen as memories from my past life surged, back when I'd seek out Pei Yenshin, sitting through unfamiliar lectures just to be near him. However grueling the classes were, everything felt better by his side. Quiet, the cold voice carried an undeniable authority. My hand holding the pen paused. I had heard this voice for 10 years, so familiar that I could discern the rise and fall of every syllable. As if possessed, I turned around. Pei Yenshin was sitting in the second-to-last row by the window. His white shirt unbuttoned twice at the collar, revealing his delicate collarbones. The notebook open before him was filled with densely written key points. Our eyes locked. His gaze was deep, as if it could pull me in. I turned away, ignoring him. The professor suddenly asked, can any student analyze the vulnerabilities in this financial derivatives model? The classroom fell silent. Just as I was about to raise my hand, I heard the sound of a chair moving behind me. Pei Yenshin stood up, sunlight streaming across his profile, casting a long shadow on the floor. I believe the risk lies in the calculation of the hedge ratio. His analysis was precise and incisive, earning a nod of approval from even the professor. I stared at the derivation process I'd written in my notebook, only to discover that I had identified the same critical point as him. This inexplicably irritated me. After class, I deliberately slowed down while packing my bag. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. Things don't always go as planned. Pei Yenshin and Zhou Yi walked down the aisle with their notebooks and stopped beside me. Junior Su, want to grab lunch together after class? Pei Yenshin didn't speak, just looked at me with unexpectedly sincere eyes, as if he were also anticipating my response. I gasped at my own thoughts, sucking in a sharp breath. Thanks, senior, but I already have lunch plans. I snapped my notebook shut with a metallic click of the pen cap. Enjoy your meal, Pei. Yenshin's lips pressed into a thin line, his knuckles whitening around the notebook. As I walked past him with my backpack, I heard his lowered voice. Su Wenji, really have plans, Junior? I turned to Pei Yenshin in surprise, yet without a trace of embarrassment at being caught. With certainty, she replied, yes, senior. The classroom was nearly empty, his Adam's apple bobbed twice, but ultimately he remained silent. I stepped out of the classroom, frowning as I pondered Pei Yenshin's odd behavior. Then at the corridor's turn, I bumped into Su Jiha carrying lab equipment. Tilting his head, he immediately set things down. What's wrong? Who upset our princess? Those furrowed brows could crush flies. Watching his cheeky grin, I sighed in exasperation. Su Jiha fished out a strawberry candy from his lab coat pocket, unwrapped it, and placed it in my palm. Quick, before it expires, he said. I facebombed. So much for his gentle as jade reputation, yet somehow, the irritation in my heart suddenly melted away. With the candy in my mouth, I walked back to the dorm with Su Jiha under the elongated shadows cast by the setting sun. Pei Yenshin's figure grew increasingly hazy in my memory. At 2 a.m., the school's 24-hour convenience store glowed with sterile white light. Frost had formed on the drink bottles in the cooler, scattering prismatic glimmers behind the glass, rubbing my tired eyes. I stared vacantly at the instant noodles on the shelf, the Sichuan pepper flavor too spicy, the pork bone broth potentially cloying. In my days, I suddenly remembered my past self always picking mild flavors for Pei Yenshin, and couldn't help scoffing bitterly. The chime of automatic doors opening snapped me out of my thoughts with a mechanical click. Clutching the instant noodles, I turned and found myself staring into familiar eyes. Pei Yenshin stood there in a black hoodie, cradling a laptop, his damp hair still glistening with raindrops. A shadow materialized from the night itself. His steps faltered when he saw me, his Adam's apple bobbing unnaturally. Still up this late? He spoke first, his voice carrying an unnatural stiffness that trailed off into the convenience store's broadcast static. Just tweaking the data model. I dropped instant noodles into the shopping basket, the metal chain jingling crisply. As I turned to leave, my sleeve caught. Pei Yenshin's fingers hovered midair. I could take a look. Did data analytics coursework, competed in this before, got some experience. The fluorescent light buzzed above him, illuminating the shadows under his eyes. That sleep-deprived look transported me to our past life, where his perpetual "after this project" never materialized. Now the raw hope in his gaze burned so intensely it made my temples throb. No need to trouble yourself, senior. I freed my sleeve as the plastic basket clunked against the metal cart. My past self would have been over the moon about this. His face darkened as he gripped the laptop's edge, knuckles turning white. Su Wenji, you, Senior Pei. I snapped open a frosty Coke from the cooler, condensation dripping down my wrist. I've got other things to do. The words seemed to drain all strength from him. I knew exactly what he wanted to ask, whether we had some unresolved beef. Like anyone cares. The convenience store door swung open again, carrying the damp scent of fresh grass. Wenji. The familiar voice instantly melted my tension. Su Ji had dashed in, waving an oil paper bag, his stethoscope jingling in the white coat's pocket. Knew I'd find you here. Guess what I brought? As he reached me, his amber eyes narrowed slightly at Pei Yenshin, like a cub guarding its meal. And this is, he deliberately swayed the bag under my nose, releasing rich cake aromas. Whoever this is, they're not interrupting our midnight snack time. Pei Yenshin's gaze darted between me and Su Jiha before settling on the cola in my hand. His most detested drink, the one he claimed would corrode teeth with its carbonation. Yet as I tilted my head back for a swig, the icy liquid slid down my throat, its sweetness bursting with fizz, delivering a satisfaction sharper than any memory. I've got things to do. Pei's voice rasped like sandpaper as he turned abruptly, knocking over the umbrella stand by the shelf. The metallic clatter startled the clerk, but he never looked back. just plunged into the rain. His dark silhouette swallowed by the night. Sujiha quietly picked up the umbrella and pulled out a strawberry cake from the oil paper bag. It's cream-topped with a miniature stethoscope decoration. Try this, I made it myself. He scooped up a piece with a fork and held it to my lips, his eyes brimming with anticipation. I couldn't help but laugh as I took a bite. The sweet and sour flavor bloomed on my tongue. Through the convenience store's glass, I could see Pei Yenshin standing beneath the plane tree across the street, gazing up at the laboratory, where the light that should have been mine still burned. The rain grew heavier, yet he stubbornly remained in place, like a forgotten statue. The rain grew heavier, the convenience store's warm light merging our shadows together. Pei Yenshin's figure finally vanished into the curtain of rain, while I took the spoon Sujiha handed me, scooping up the bright red strawberry on the cake. So sweet. The spotlight from the auditorium dome was blinding as I stood at the center of the podium, the trophy in my palm refracting a cold gleam. The gold medal from the National Financial Modeling Competition hung around my neck, its weight heavy yet no match for the thunderous applause ringing in my ears. In a daze, I remembered my past self huddled in the corner of the audience, quietly applauding Pei Yenshin's computer competition. The cheers back then were nothing compared to this deafening roar. 5. Now, let's invite the winning team to share their victory speech, the host's voice rang out. As I took the mic, I caught a familiar flash of white in the crowd from the corner of my eye. Sujiha stood there in a crisply ironed shirt, cradling a massive bouquet of champagne roses. Fresh dewdrops still clung to the petals, glowing softly under the lights. He waved vigorously at me, his amber eyes shining brilliantly, like they'd captured the entire galaxy's worth of starlight. Just then, a faint commotion arose from the back of the auditorium. My breath caught in my throat as I turned toward the sound. Pei Yenshin stood in the shadows, his black trench coat damp with rain. The bouquet of red roses in his grip was clenched too tightly, their stems twisted and deformed between his knuckles. The iris ring on his left hand glinted ominously in the dim light, as sharp as the thorns on those crimson blooms. The scene stabbed into my memories. During my graduation ceremony in another life, he'd held roses just like this, his gaze uncharacteristically tender. Thank you to my team, and everyone who supported me, I spoke into the microphone, though my eyes remained locked on Sujiha as he pulled a card from the bouquet. The crooked handwriting read, "To the amazing Sue, midnight snacks are on me tonight." I couldn't help but laugh. That splash of color instantly dispelled the gloom Pei Yenshin had brought. The moment the awards ceremony ended, Sujiha was already pushing through the crowd toward the stage. The scent of roses mingled with his faint soapy fragrance as he carefully tucked the bouquet into my arms, wiping the sweat from my temple. "I was so nervous watching you, thought you might forget your lines." His fingertips still carried the warmth from baking. How could this be? I lowered my head to smell the roses, catching a glimpse of Pei Yenshin being surrounded by a few junior students. He was absent-mindedly responding to them, yet his eyes kept glancing in my direction for some reason. The red rose hung by his side, like a drop of dried blood. Suddenly, Xiaoyan in her white dress appeared beside us. Reaching out to take the rose from Pei Yenshin, she said to him with delight, "Yenshin, thank you for remembering my birthday." Pei Yenshin froze in place, his Adam's apple bobbing twice. He looked at the champagne rose in my arms, then at Xiaoyan's outstretched hand, said something in a low voice, and walked out of the auditorium. Xiaoyan followed him. The glass door slammed against the wall with a loud bang, as cold wind carrying fine rain rushed in, tousling the hair by my temples. Sujiha pulled a small box from his suit pocket, revealing a silver stethoscope-shaped brooch inside. "Tada, what do you think of this creative award gift?" I rolled my eyes in exasperation. I let him pin the brooch to my collar, feeling the metal's coolness against my skin before it quickly warmed to my body heat. Sujiha suddenly lowered his head to meet my gaze as locust blossom petals fluttered onto our shoulders. "Su Wenji, I'll bring flowers to witness every glorious moment of yours from now on." I hugged Sujiha, listening to his steady heartbeat, remembering my past life. When I was always alone, to be loved isn't about straining on tiptoes for distant starlight. It's someone bending down to place the cosmos in your hands. The champagne rose trembled slightly, dewdrops on its petals refracting rainbows brighter than any light I'd ever known. The cafeteria's flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as the clatter of stainless steel trays mingled with the aroma of food. While queuing with my tray, I caught fragments of hushed conversation from nearby girls. "I keep running into Senior Pei lately, he's so dreamy," a twin-tailed girl whispered with sparkling eyes. "Yesterday I saw him waiting outside our dorm for 2 whole hours." "No kidding." The bespectacled girl adjusted her frames. The CS department's campus queen confessed to him and got straight up rejected. He said something about already having someone in my heart. My grip on the tray suddenly tightened. The plastic edge digging painfully into my palm. Memories from my past life came flooding back. How Pei Yenshin would always turn a blind eye to my waiting back then. What'll it be, dear? The cafeteria lady's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. Just as I was about to order, hurried footsteps approached from behind. Pei Yenshin had somehow appeared in line, holding 2 meal trays, his gaze locked on me, mine sharing a table. Before I could respond, he'd already sat across from me, sliding a plate of sweet and sour pork ribs my way. You seemed to like these last time. The familiar tangy sweetness filled my nostrils, yet it reminded me of my past life when I'd force myself to eat bland food just to suit his palate, enduring stomachaches that kept me awake all night without daring to complain. Senior Pei Yenshin, what exactly are you trying to do? I set down my chopsticks, meeting his gaze directly. His lashes fluttered slightly as the steam rising from the bowl of white rice obscured his expression. After a brief silence, he said earnestly, Su Wenji, you might find this strange, but his words instantly transported me back to that hospital room in my previous life, where he'd worn the same hesitant expression. Now, that same look couldn't stir even the faintest ripple in my heart. He began to speak again, but suddenly, Su Wenji, Su Jiha called out, wearing a lab coat with a thermos cradled in his arms, beads of sweat still glistening at his temples. Made your favorite lotus root and pork rib soup today. He jogged over and settled beside me, naturally, nodding briefly at Pei Yenshin while keeping his gaze fixed on me. Didn't wait too long, did you? The anatomy lab ran late. Pei Yenshin stared at the thermos Su Jiha placed on the table, his Adam's apple bobbing twice as Su Jiha opened the thermos. Steam billowed out instantly. Last time she mentioned missing home casually, so I tried recreating your aunt's recipe. You're Pei Yenshin, right? Wenji Sr. Care to join us? He ladled soup into a bowl and handed it to me, his fingertips brushing against the back of my hand by accident. Careful, it's hot. Pei Yenshin's grip on his chopsticks tightened until his knuckles turned white. He abruptly stood up, his chair screeching across the floor. After giving me one long look, he turned and knocked over a tray from the neighboring table on his way out amidst the crisp sound of shattering dishes. I kept my focus on serving soup without sparing Pei Yenshin a single glance. As the cafeteria gradually emptied, Su Jiha was clearing the bowls when he suddenly pulled out a small box from his pocket. Inside lay an exquisite bracelet, a silver chain adorned with a miniature stethoscope and coffee beans. I made this myself, he said. The stethoscope listens to heartbeats, and the coffee beans keep you awake. Me, where did you get all these bizarre gifts? Pei Yenshin's figure gradually vanished into the curtain of rain, while the bracelet on my wrist swayed gently, emitting delicate chimes like whispers of happiness. The late autumn rain carried a biting chill, fogging up the library's glass panes with mist. Huddled by the window seat, I frowned at Jingyan Group's internship exam materials. Amidst the scratching of my pen, a soft knocking suddenly interrupted. Looking up, I saw Pei Yenshin standing outside the study area, droplets still falling from the hem of his black trench coat, cradling the out-of-print finance tome I'd casually mentioned wanting. The guard said you were studying, he offered. He gestured through the glass, his voice muffled by the soundproof door. This book might help. I stared at his rain-dampened eyelashes, remembering his indifference during my exam failure in our past life, and finally just shook my head. His shoulders slumped slightly, yet he stubbornly placed the book on the entryway shelf. Turning away, he knocked over the umbrella stand. The clatter of metal shafts drew startled gasps from the room. Since our confrontation in the cafeteria, Pei Yenshin began appearing more frequently at the periphery of my life during business competitions. He'd sit silently in the front row of the audience, clutching flowers afterward but never approaching. Working late, I'd always find him leaning against his black sedan downstairs. The moment I appeared, he'd hurriedly start the engine, pretending to be passing by. Even when I was down with fever, anonymous fever reducers and porridge mysteriously appeared downstairs. The handwriting on the package was unnaturally neat. He waited 3 more hours at the lab building today. Xiao Wei leaned in conspiratorially, showing me a candid photo on her phone. Pei Yenshin stood beneath the ginkgo tree, golden leaves dusting his shoulders as he stubbornly stared down the path I always took. Scrolling through my phone, I accidentally reached the hidden album where Su Jiha's photos of me were stored, the ones Xiao Wei had glimpsed and begged me to share because she found them amusing. Every unguarded moment was documented. My cake-smudged face during lab breaks, sunrise jogging grins, even drooling. In my sleep, each photo tagged with his handwritten notes: Suwinji drools, Suwinji devours pork knuckles, Suwinji. The late spring breeze carried the scent of magnolia blossoms, softening the antiseptic smell lingering in the hospital corridors. Clutching the Su Corporation's donation agreement, I paced restlessly outside the inpatient building. The window in Pei Yenshin's grandmother's room stood ajar, letting faint coughs escape, each rasping rhythm transporting me back to countless days and nights spent at hospital bedsides in my past life. Miss Su, do you need assistance? The young nurse at the station smiled at me, her gaze lingering on the envelope in my hand. Just as I parted my lips, the elevator chimed open. Pei Yenshin emerged clutching CT scans, his second shirt button undone to reveal faded scarlet marks below his collarbone. Scars from cardboard cuts he'd gotten while moving books for Xiao Yan in our previous lifetime. Su Wenji, he halted mid-step, the medical films rustling in his grip. What are you doing here? Sunlight filtered through the corridor blinds, casting a crisscross pattern of light and shadow across his face, a perfect metaphor for the unbridgeable distance between us. Just a routine checkup, I replied, tucking the envelope behind my back. Pei Yenshin furrowed his brow. Are you feeling unwell? The antiseptic smell grew abruptly sharper, triggering memories of my past life. An elderly man clutching my hand on his deathbed, clouded eyes brimming with remorse. Wenji, our Pei family owes you an apology. Pei Yenshin's gaze held cautious vulnerability, like a wounded animal tentatively approaching its former den. Nothing serious, just routine tests. I took half a step back, my dress shoes clicking against marble. I should go. As I turned, my cuff was caught with feather-light pressure that sent tension coiling through my body. His hand jerked away as it burned, sending CT films scattering across the floor. One slid to my feet, the ominous shadow on the lung skin staring back like an accusation. I hurried away, and after donating the money to charity, I left the hospital. The thunder of the rainy season rumbled across the sky like a beast trapped in the clouds. As I rushed into the convenience store clutching my folder, the downpour hammered against the glass with a deafening clatter. Pei Yenshin's figure suddenly emerged from behind the shelves, his black umbrella casting a crescent-shaped shadow at his side. Take this umbrella. His voice blended with the rain, the right shoulder of his shirt stained dark with moisture. The forecast said there'd be a storm. My gaze fixed on the black long-handled umbrella in his hand, its ribs engraved with iris patterns. In my past life, I'd waited 3 hours for him in pouring rain, only to hear I was with her at the library. No thanks. I turned toward the refrigerated aisle, fingertips brushing chilled yogurt bottles. Pei Yenshin's footsteps echoed unnervingly loud between narrow shelves. Suddenly his hand blocked the glass door before me, mint-scented breath grazing my ear. Su Wenji, let's talk. Convenience store lights fractured into golden flecks in his eyes as I caught the faint cedarwood cologne clinging to him. Senior Pei, we've nothing to discuss. I sidestepped, the metal shelf's edge digging into my lower back. You should be with Senior Xiao. His pupils contracted sharply at those words, then flickered with something resembling delight. The downpour intensified abruptly, raindrops hammering the roof like drumbeats. His Adam's apple bobbed as if steeling himself. Actually, between her and I, save your explanation. I cut him off, snatching the yogurt toward the checkout. Whatever's between you two, none of my business. Amidst the scanner's beep, Pei Yenshin froze behind me. After paying, I stepped out of the convenience store. Soon, Pei Yenshin emerged and thrust an umbrella into my arms, its handle still warm from his touch. Take this. My next stop is just around the corner, and I'm in a hurry. With that, he dashed into the downpour, his dark silhouette quickly swallowed by the curtain of rain. I stood clutching the umbrella outside the convenience store, daydreaming again. A familiar voice came from behind. Suji had jogged over under a clear plastic umbrella, his white coat splattered with mud. Anatomy class ran late, didn't want to keep you waiting. He drew me closer under his umbrella, his fingers brushing against the bracelet on my wrist. Why are you holding someone else's umbrella? Found it on the street. I shoved the black umbrella into a trash bin, letting Suji's transparent shelter shield me from the storm. His umbrella bore cartoon stethoscope prints, the matching couple's design he'd insisted on buying during our last shopping date. Dinner first. He shook the paper bag in his hand. Got your favorite chestnut cake? We settled by the convenience store window where Sujiha meticulously wiped raindrops from my umbrella. Ribs, raindrops slithered like rivers down the glass, and under the distant streetlight, Pei Yenshin's dark silhouette reappeared drenched and motionless. He stood across the street at the bus stop, his gaze stubbornly fixed on the convenience store. He's watching you. Sujiha pushed the cake toward me, the fork glistening with fresh cream. Should we go over? I took a bite of the sweet chestnut paste, feeling Sujiha's fingers gently intertwine with mine beneath the table. Pei Yenshin's figure wavered in the rain, mirroring that heart-fluttering early autumn from 10 years ago. But now, gazing at Sujiha's rain-dampened lashes, I felt nothing but peace. No need. I fed Sujiha a bite of cake. Some people, once missed, stay missed. Cream dotted his nose when he suddenly grasped my wrist, amber eyes flickering with firelight. What about you? Have you missed out on anything? The rain's patter faded abruptly as the convenience store's background music switched to Pachelbel's canon. Watching Sujiha's nervous expression, I burst out laughing. So even this perpetually sunny boy had moments of vulnerability when no one was looking. What I missed was knowing you sooner. I wiped the cream from his nose with my fingertip. But now, I don't want to miss another second. Sujiha's eyes instantly lit up like a miniature sun bursting into flame. He suddenly leaned in, pressing a feather-light kiss to my forehead as the cartoon stethoscope on his umbrella swayed gently with the movement. The torrential rain outside gradually subsided. Pei Yenshin's figure already vanished around the street corner. Sujiha adjusted my scarf and tilted the umbrella toward me. Let's go home, he said with unshakable conviction in his voice. I'll be there for every storm in your life from now on. We stepped into the rain-washed night, streetlights stretching our shadows long behind us. The warmth of Sujiha's fingers intertwined with mine dissolved the last remnants of chill. The black iris-patterned umbrella by the convenience store entrance stood pristine under the rain's cleansing touch, forever awaiting an owner who'd never return. Some stories are destined to end in torrential downpours. The crystal chandelier spun overhead in the banquet hall, scattering diamond-like shards of light across the snow-white tablecloth. As I adjusted my pearl necklace before the dressing mirror, Sujiha's reflection materialized in the glass, dressed in a crisply pressed silver-gray suit. He meticulously fastened the stethoscope-shaped cufflinks to his sleeves, the engagement gift I'd given him. Nervous, he turned abruptly, his amber eyes glimmering softly in the light. That's when I noticed the coffee bean pin on his lapel, the one I'd handmade for our first date. A little, I admitted, running my fingertips over the sapphire on my engagement ring. Sujiha had bought it with his first internship paycheck. The band was designed as a DNA double helix, with our initials engraved inside. Suddenly, commotion erupted outside the banquet hall. Peering through the parted curtains, I saw Pei Yenshin standing outside the revolving doors, raindrops glistening on his black trench coat. He cradled a gift box with a half-exposed red rose on its lid, the vibrant hue clashing with the surrounding champagne-colored balloons. Shall I send him away? Sujiha's warm palm settled on my waist as he materialized behind me. Today belongs to us. I shook my head, my skirt whispering against the carpet as I turned. When Pei Yenshin spotted me descending the stairs, his Adam's apple bobbed violently, the gift box's ribbon crumpling in his grip. Wenji, his voice cut through the ballroom music. This is for you. The sapphire brooch gleamed coldly as the box opened, its memory, once suspended over Pei Yenshin's heart in another lifetime, now only stung my eyes. Sorry, I took half a step back, the sapphire on my ring finger glinting faintly. I don't accept gifts meant for someone else's girlfriend. His face paled instantly as red roses tumbled from the gift box. These weren't Xiaoyan's. My grandmother gave me this before she passed, she said. She said I wasn't good enough for you, that I should keep it as a reminder to treat you right. The brooch gleamed coldly under the stained glass, suddenly reminding me of Grandma Pei and her final words. Silly child, stop waiting. Tears welled up abruptly. Yet when Sujiha offered his handkerchief, they dissolved into a smile of quiet acceptance. Too late. I gently pushed the brooch back into his palm. Some feelings, once missed, can never be reclaimed. The satin ribbons of my wedding dress fluttered as I turned toward Sujiha across the crowd, his smile brimming with unwavering tenderness. I found my own son. I accepted the champagne Sujiha offered, watching bubbles fizz softly against the glass. After today, our paths won't cross again. Sujiha's arm settled around my waist at just the right moment, his body warmth seeping through the lab coat fabric. Mr. Pei, my fiancé, and I should greet our guests now. His tone remained courteous yet carried undeniable finality. Pei Yenshin's gaze locked onto our intertwined hands before he suddenly seized my wrist. Wenji, I know you've been reborn. My pounding heartbeat filled my ears as Sujiha's fingers suddenly tightened around my waist. Pei Yenshin's eyes held a desperate glint. I've also been reborn. That's how I know what? Interrupted, yanking my wrist back forcefully. Know how pathetically I loved you in my past life. Know it took me 10 years to see your true colors. Tears welled up abruptly, only to be gently wiped away by Sujiha. Enough. His voice turned icy. Mr. Pei, if you continue harassing us, I'll have no choice but to call security. With that, he pulled out his phone to summon security. Pei Yenshin's face was ashen. He staggered back 2 steps, the red rose falling at my feet, droplets from its petals splashed onto my satin dress, like unhealing wounds. I'm sorry, he finally spoke, his voice as fragile as a sigh scattered by the wind. I'm sorry I'm too late, but from beginning to end, I've only loved you, yet I didn't dare to love you. The gap between us is so vast, I was afraid it would all vanish like a mirage, so I worked desperately to give you a life worthy of you, but I couldn't hear the rest of his words. Suji had gently turned me toward the banquet hall, guiding me to the chapel. Don't look back, he whispered, our future lies ahead. Pei Yenshin's sobs were drowned out by the organ's melody at the engagement ceremony. Sujiha's vows were lost in thunderous applause. As he raised my hand, our rings glittered under the spotlight. Xiao Wei in the audience blew me a kiss, while Pei Yenshin stood in the distance, head slightly bowed in unreadable thought. The tiered champagne fountain mirrored our entwined reflections. Suddenly I remembered the plain tree leaves on my rebirth day, how fate had woven its intricate pattern all along. I love you not for who you were, but for who you are now, Sujiha whispered in my ear. Every year from now on, I'll watch the cherry blossoms bloom with you. The banquet hall doors slowly closed, shutting out the last trace of rain-scented air. Gazing at my reflection in Sujiha's eyes, I finally understood, true love isn't chasing shadows, but walking alongside the light. Pei Yenshin's footsteps faded into the distance, while the bracelet on my wrist shimmered gently, my own eternal starlight that would never fade this time. Neither moonlight nor starlight mattered, for I was already holding the most genuine warmth. Rising on tiptoes, I brushed a kiss against the corner of his lips. The distant moonlight spilled over our shoulders, yet paled beside the tenderness glowing in his eyes. True love is never a desperate chase, but 2 souls drawing near as equals. It's the steaming cocoa always waiting when you're weary, the lamp left burning for you through winter nights. Story 3 years ago, Xiao Jing and his first love fell into the water together, risking my life. I only managed to save Xiao Jing. 3 years later, Xiao Jing became my husband. During my most important competition, he spiked my water with performance-enhancing drugs. My reputation is ruined, and my family is destroyed, he said. You Feifei, you've won so many championships your hands ache. Yet 3 years ago you deliberately let Qinghong drown. This is the retribution you deserve. Someone's fallen in the water. There's a person drowning up ahead. Someone bumped into me, nearly knocking me off balance. My hand scraped against the ground, leaving bloody marks. Are you okay? The person anxiously helped me up. Staring at the vaguely familiar face before me, I suddenly froze. Lin Junshu. Lin Junshu's face lit up the moment he saw me, as if spotting a savior. You Feifei. Xiao Jing fell into the water. Go save him, quick. Staggering to my feet, I realized with shock that I'd been transported back 3 years, to the very day Xiao Jing and Zhou Qinghong had drowned. Lin Junshu was a classmate of both Xiao Jing and me. I was on the school swim team, while he was in track and field. In my past life, it was also Lin Junshu who bumped into me and told me Xiao Jing had fallen into the water. At that time, I was running a fever, and hearing about Xiao Jing's accident sent me into complete panic. Ignoring everyone's warnings, I plunged into the water in a daze to save him. Xiao Jing couldn't swim, and he clung to me desperately. Even a seasoned swimmer like me nearly met my Waterloo that day. It took every ounce of my strength to drag him ashore. Someone finally screamed, "There's still a person in the lake." At the sight of that ghastly red streak in the water, the rest of the school swim team dove in. My strength gave out, and everything went black as I passed out. But Zhou Qinghong couldn't be saved in the end. Afterwards, I contracted severe pneumonia from bacteria while rescuing Xiao Jing. I was in a coma for a day at the hospital and needed 4 days to recover, causing me to miss swim training. My spot on the provincial team was snatched away just like that. But when I woke from the coma, I saw Xiao Jing staring at me with red-rimmed eyes. Thought he was crying out of worry. I wish I could slap some sense into my past self. Back then, he probably wanted to tear me apart to avenge Zhou Qinghong. Why is your face so red? Lin Junshu noticed something was off about me. He reached out and touched my forehead with exaggerated alarm. He exclaimed, "Your forehead is burning up." I gave a bitter smile. "I think I'm running a fever, and my head is killing me." "Who did you say fell into the water just now?" The interruption suddenly jogged Lin Junshu's memory, and he exclaimed with realization, "It was Xiao Jing who fell in. You're running a fever. Don't do anything reckless that might put you in danger. I'll go find someone else to help." Our campus is enormous, with an artificial lake that's not only scenic but also 2 meters deep in a remote location. Most people wouldn't dare go near it. In my past life, I only knew Xiao Jing had fallen in, never realizing Zhou Qinghong was in the water too. Rescuing Xiao Jing took so long that no one noticed until Zhou Qinghong surfaced on her own, yet Xiao Jing blamed everything on me, masking the coldness in my eyes. I feigned urgency in my voice. "Xiao Jing fell into the water. No way, I've got to check on him." I sprinted toward the artificial lake where he'd fallen in. Lin Junshu, worried I'd jump in, actually chased after me. He shouted, "You Feifei, you're running a fever. Don't you dare go in that water." I'd never jump in to save that ungrateful wretch again. In my past life, I had actually won first place in the international championship. I was on the verge of joining the national team when someone anonymously reported me for doping. They stripped me of my medal on the spot and took me for testing. The drug test actually detected stimulants in my blood, but I never took any performance-enhancing drugs, nor did I eat anything unusual before the competition, yet the test results don't lie. I know I've been framed. Everyone's calling me a disgrace, saying I've humiliated our country just to win. Many people came to my parents' house, hurling insults at them for raising such an unfilial daughter. Some even threw excrement and issued threats. The rage left my father paralyzed from a stroke, while my mother became a trembling wreck, crying herself to sleep every night. Only later did I discover the whistleblower was Xiao Jing. I screamed at him like a madwoman, demanding to know why he'd do this to me. Forget childhood friendship after I risked my life to save him 3 years ago. This betrayal is unforgivable. Then he disgustingly shoved me to the ground with brutal force. "You Feifei, this is your karma coming back to bite you. You were such a strong swimmer, yet you deliberately let Qinghong drown 3 years ago. How dare someone like you stand proudly under the national flag? This is your karma." The man I loved for years destroyed my dreams and caused my father's stroke. Starved for days, I blacked out in rage and found myself transported back to the day Xiao Jing fell into the water. I froze. "Xiao Jing, care to guess whether I'll dive in to save you this time around?" By the time I reached the artificial lake, a crowd had already gathered. On that freezing winter day, no one was willing to brave the icy waters for a rescue. First, the river water was freezing cold. Without proper warm-up, even an Olympic swimmer would get leg cramps. Second, self-preservation is human nature. In my past life, had I not been infatuated with Xiao Jing, I wouldn't have recklessly jumped in to save him. "That's you Feifei, I know her. She's on the university swim team. With her here, the person in the river is definitely saved." Yeah, you Feifei. Someone fell in, go save them, too." I tuned out the crowds jeering completely. My gaze remained fixed on the bamboo grove by the artificial lake. "Lin Shujun, could you do me a favor?" "Lin Junshu, get some male classmates to help me. No weaklings." I walked straight past Lin Junshu and left the crowd. The onlookers suddenly erupted in commotion. How could she just stand by and watch? And she's on the school swim team too. What a heartless person. How could someone like this be at our university? I got it all on video. With the training camp coming up, how does someone like her deserve to make the provincial team? I sneered inwardly. Lin Junshu had no idea what I was planning, but he still rounded up a few male classmates. Hearing the nasty remarks from the crowd, she immediately turned around and shot them a glare. "You Feifei is running a fever. Jumping in wouldn't just fail to save anyone, she might drown herself. If you're so capable, why don't you jump in and save them yourselves?" The loudest hecklers were left red-faced and fuming. See, even the smoothest talker would tremble before Junshu Lin's fists the size of sandbags. Fuming as he was, Junshu Lin still trailed behind me. Curious about why I'd sought him out, I led a few men into the bamboo grove, stopping at the derelict guardhouse and pointing at the rusted lock. "Break it open. I think there are lifebuoys and a life raft stored inside." It wasn't until Zhou Qinghong's incident in our past life that the school got thoroughly investigated. That's when we discovered the abandoned guardhouse in the bamboo grove, stocked with rescue equipment. Those boys only came out of respect for Lin Junshu. They were initially displeased with my refusal to help when they were in danger. Hearing this, they immediately got excited. Several people kicked the iron door violently, and the rusted lock soon broke off and fell to the ground. Inside the abandoned guardhouse, there was indeed a foldable life raft, along with lifebuoys and life jackets. "There really are lifebuoys inside. How did you know, Feifei?" Lin Junshu turned to ask me. but found I was already gone. I'd already turned back toward the artificial lake. Only a damn fool would miss out on free entertainment. You've all misunderstood you, Fei. Come on, we're grown men, we should apologize to her later. She's just a girl running a fever, and you'd make her go rescue people. That's practically sending her to her death. Lin Junshu spoke indignantly, making the male classmates flush with shame. Jumping into freezing water to save someone would be suicidal. The school swim team members approached as soon as I reached the lakeshore. Leading them was none other than my arch-rival, Bai Qian. I felt dazed. That international swimming championship where I made it to the national team, Xiao Jing drugged me with performance enhancers when my reputation was ruined and everyone turned against me. Besides my parents, Bai Qian was the first to stand up for me. She spoke directly to the camera, addressing the reporters. Yu Fei works harder than anyone. She's not that kind of person. Who would have thought my greatest rival would understand me best? She never misses a chance to throw barbs at me whenever we meet. Surprisingly, no one mocked me for not jumping in to save the drowning person today. Instead, they gave me an approving look. But my classmates nearby started getting upset. Who knew the school swim team members could be so heartless? They just stood there watching someone drown in the lake without lifting a finger to help. The crowd by the lakeside kept growing. There must have been capable swimmers among them. Not a single member of the school swim team entered the water. Instead, they grew increasingly agitated and turned their accusations toward us. Honestly, I found the whole situation rather baffling. Last time around, members of the school swim team had jumped in to help. Why is everyone just standing by this time? My stare was too intense. Bai Qian shot me a glare. Move aside, all of you. If we delay the rescue, you'll have blood on your hands. Lin Juanshu's voice exploded, startling the people on the shore out of their wits. He methodically directed the male students. The 4-person inflatable life raft was launched directly into the water. Xiao Jing in the artificial lake had stopped making splashes. As soon as the life raft hit the water, I pointed to the spot where Zhou Qinghong had surfaced in my past life. Lin Junshu, there seems to be someone over there too. That spot was a hidden nook. From the lakeshore, you couldn't see anyone at all. That's why Zhou Qinghong, the campus belle of University A in her past life, ended up drowning. Lin Junshu jumped in fright. Who's there? Yu Fei, stop scaring me. Since that spot was closer, the 4 guys on the life raft headed straight there. They cried out in astonishment. There are actually people here. Everyone on the shore began screaming in shock. Are there people over there too? 3. If it weren't for Yu Fei spotting him, that guy would've been dead. This man owes his life to Yu Fei. School swim team members have sharp eyes. Spotting someone from such an awkward angle, lips can flap both ways, spewing sweet words or sour gossip as they please. Even after risking my life to save Xiao Jing last time, I got no gratitude in return. These bystanders mocked. This is supposed to be varsity level. My nephew swims better than you. Yu Fei was too busy showing off to actually help with the rescue. Putting me down seems to give them some twisted sense of comfort. We waited for Zhou Qinghong's body to surface. The verbal abuse intensified. The most persistent rumor claimed I deliberately let Zhou Qinghong drown to steal her man. These rumors nearly ended my swimming career. Thinking of my past life, my expression turned ice cold. Bai Qian gave me a suspicious glance but remained silent. Bai Qian, why didn't you go in the water? I was still quite curious about this. Bai Qian smiled with a hint of cool detachment. We saw you leading the students to the life raft when we arrived. Saving lives is important, but only when you've ensured your own safety first. The training camp is starting soon. Don't push yourself too hard. I see. I nodded silently. I must have been a fool in my past life. The inflatable raft was rather thin, so they rescued Zhou Qinghong by dragging her aboard. For Xiao Jing, they secured him with a life buoy and tethered him with a tow line. The male classmate who tried to rescue him nearly got dragged underwater by the drowning boy. A drowning person develops terrifying strength. I've experienced it firsthand. They had to slowly pull their way back along the rescue rope. It was quite a distance, and by the time everyone made it ashore, the crowd finally recognized the 2 who fell in, Zhou Qinghong, the campus belle of University A, and piano prodigy Xiao Jing. Once again, I found myself in the eye of the storm. Didn't Yu Fei have a crush on Xiao Jing? If she didn't jump in to save him, was she really sick or just making excuses? Who knows? When it comes to choosing between a crush and your life, survival obviously comes first. I bet Yu Fei only pointed out where Zhou Qinghong drowned because she knew Xiao Jing was meeting her there. Rumor has it Yu Fei chased Xiao Jing for 3 years without so much as a glance back. Well, how could she ever measure up to Zhou Qinghong? The gossip mongers perked up like dogs catching a whiff of shit. Their gazes were dripping with pity and mockery. "Ha, what's it to you?" My expression was perhaps too frosty, eh? Smile would have been far more polite. Of course, the gossipy classmates were completely dumbfounded. They never expected me to clap back so bluntly. Quite a few were fuming, their faces turning red with rage. "You Feifei, don't get cocky just because you're on the school swim team. What's so special about knowing how to swim? You Feifei, you're utterly insolent. We're reporting you to the principal." "I'm not afraid at all. No one can find fault with me today." Bai Qian snorted with laughter, waving her phone in hand. "I've got it all on video. Every ugly smirk while you gossiped about you Feifei." The school swim team members immediately surrounded me, glaring daggers at those people. "All we hear is your constant yapping, yet not a single one of you actually helped. Our captain Yu is gorgeous inside out. She's got admirers lining up. Xiao Jing doesn't even make the list." "Exactly. What's with all this petty jealousy?" The armchair critics who'd been all talk suddenly chickened out when they saw the swim team recording, slinking away while muttering curses. A faint ripple disturbed my calm heart. Being naturally introverted, I didn't interact much with these teammates in daily life. The radiant and vivacious Bai Qian actually carried herself more like a captain than I did. Never thought they'd actually stand up for me at a time like this. Bai Qian shot me a disdainful look. "We're just protecting the swim team's reputation. Don't flatter yourself." Well, that gratitude was wasted. Make way, all of you. If these students died because you're gawking instead of letting first responders through, their blood will be on your hands. The belated security guards and school medics began securing the scene, brusquely dispersing the gathered crowd. The crowd scattered in an instant. The tardy school medic initiated emergency procedures. Both Zhou Qinghong and Xiao Jing narrowly escaped death. I gazed meaningfully at Xiao Jing's fingers, blanched from prolonged soaking. The artificial lake's water was bone-chillingly cold in the dead of winter. After soaking this long, "Xiao Jing, will your hands still be able to play piano?" I turned and walked away without another word. Didn't he blame me in his past life for not saving his beloved this lifetime? I'll see for myself how much his living sweetheart truly loves him. "You Feifei, where are you going?" Lin Juanshu's incessant chattering behind me was splitting my head open. I watched this sunny young man, wondering what he was up to. Lin Juanshu didn't stop, closing the distance between us abruptly, then hastily took a step back, his ears turned visibly red, heading back to the dorm. "Aren't you going to practice?" For my face burned unusually hot. I must have been flushed crimson by now. "You're sick, shouldn't you get checked?" Lin Juanshu's tone turned serious just as I was about to refuse. He used his height advantage to practically drag me to the campus clinic. Gasping for breath, I said, "Since when did we get this close?" Lin Juanshu shot me a glance. "Since you asked me to kick the door down for you." Admittedly, the classmates Lin Junshu brought along were all pretty burly. Even he was a striking presence in his past life. Lin Junshu didn't pursue his track and field dreams after graduation. Apparently some family emergency came up, so he went back to take over the company. We were merely acquaintances who exchanged nods, and after that, never crossed paths again. Yet at my lowest point in that past life, it was him who reached out to me. Somehow he managed to uncover that Xiao Jing was the one who reported me. Seems like I've inconvenienced someone. The next moment, the school nurse and security guard stood sighing at the doorway. Those two students are incredibly lucky to survive after being submerged in the water for so long. Their ancestors must have accumulated some serious good karma. But I heard that male student was supposed to compete in the Kleiber music competition this year. The school will probably have to give his spot to another student now. "Why's that?" the security guard asked, clearly puzzled. "His hands were submerged too long in the lake. It'll likely affect his piano playing." The school doctor opened the door, adjusted his glasses upon seeing the two waiting students. "What seems to be the problem?" "Students." Lin Junshu immediately stood up, pointing at me. "It's her. She seems to have a fever. Could you check, doctor?" When the thermometer read 40 degrees Celsius, Lin Junshu panicked and rushed me to the hospital. "You Feifei, you seem a bit happy." Lin Junshu looked puzzled. "Did the fever fry your brain?" I shook my head. "You're wrong." "Fine, you're not stupid. I'm not just a little happy, I'm overjoyed." While bickering with Lin Junshu, we ran into Xiao Jing and Zhou Qinghong, who were checking into the hospital. The two were wrapped in thick blankets in the ER, hooked up to 4 drips. Talk about bad luck running into them. But Lin had no interest in the drama. He was too busy anxiously helping me register. I just had a slight fever, but he acted like I was on death's door. Just as I was at a loss, I caught sight of Xiao Jing's miserable state. Feeling utterly carefree, I became completely obedient to Lin Junshu. You Feifei, you're like a bad penny that keeps turning up. Xiao Jing shot me a look of utter disdain when I appeared. Xiao Jing and I grew up together as childhood friends just before the college entrance exams. Xiao Jing's father made a fortune flipping properties. Meanwhile, my father had to retire early due to an injury plagued by occupational ailments. He could only find work teaching kids to swim at the local pool right after the college entrance exams. The Xiao family quietly moved out of the neighborhood. After that, things between Xiao Jing and me turned awkward, and we eventually lost touch. Little did we know we'd cross paths again in college. I've been quietly watching Xiao Jing from afar, never intending to get close, yet Xiao Jing scorns me while still basking in my kindness. The cruel irony is that in my past life, I only understood this after losing everything. I scoffed. What do you think? Don't tell me you assumed I came to the hospital for you. How did I never notice how full of himself he was in my past life? Xiao Jing clearly didn't believe it and snorted. You Feifei, there's absolutely no future for us. I suggest you focus on swim training instead. He then glanced cautiously at Zhou Qinghong, as if afraid she might misunderstand such profound devotion. What kind of seething hatred must he have endured to stay by my side in his past life? Xiao Jing flinched as if scalded by my mocking gaze. You Feifei, what's with that look? I saw Lin Shujun wave at me, signaling me to come over. She waved at him half-heartedly, eyeing the pathetic figure before her with indifference. Xiao Jing, do you really think the world revolves around you? Xiao Jing's eyes flashed with impatience, convinced I was being disingenuous. You Feifei, is that really how you want to speak to me? 5. If you've got the guts, never show your face in the piano room again. My steps faltered as a wave of nausea hit me. The school's swimming training center and piano studio faced each other in two separate buildings. Xiao Jing often got so absorbed in piano practice that he'd forget to eat until the day I passed out in the piano room from low blood sugar. Throughout freshman and sophomore year, I'd deliver midnight snacks to Xiao Jing no matter how late my training ran. I remember exactly why I'm running a fever now. Last night, people in the piano room complained about the strong smell of my takeout. With a frosty expression, Xiao Jing ordered me to wait in the hallway until he finished practicing piano. Little did I know I'd be waiting 3 whole hours before he emerged, exhaustion written across his face. The noodles had gone completely soggy. Can't even buy proper midnight snacks, he scoffed, tossing the container aside. Don't come to the practice room anymore. Underdressed for the chilly draft, I woke up this morning with a fever. Is that music room lined with gold? Why the hell should I go? Just looking at Xiao Jing makes me sick. He thought I was playing hard to get and let out a mocking laugh. Noticing Xiao Jing's gaze lingering on me, Zhou Qinghong curled her lips in disdain and waved her phone tauntingly. Jing, Yu Feifei is on the university swim team, you know. She was right there on the shore but didn't lift a finger to save you. So much for your childhood sweetheart bond, huh? Zhou Qinghong sneered as she tapped on the viral campus group video. My eyes flickered with dawning comprehension. Probably those people I called out made this video. Even if it can't really smear me, it's still gross enough to piss me off. In the 5-minute clip, I'm standing cold-faced by the shore at the beginning, then heartlessly turning away later. I'm seen cursing out those nosy classmates. Finally, I just watched Xiao Jing flailing helplessly while casually joking with my teammates. That's actually a pretty decent haircut. Xiao Jing snatched Zhou Qinghong's phone, his face darkening as he read. You Feifei, you keep saying how much you care about me. Seems your so-called sincerity is just empty words. What else do you have to say for yourself? It suddenly dawned on me why Xiao Jing fancied Zhou Qinghong. Turns out they're two of a kind, but that just makes it more interesting. You Feifei, you're up. Seeing I hadn't come over, Lin Junshu rushed straight to me, but his gaze turned hostile when it landed on Xiao Jing. A pair of dim-witted ducks. I arched an eyebrow. Well said. That truly speaks my mind. Seeing me walk slowly, Lin Junshu immediately took my arm to support me. Xiao Jing noticed Lin Junshu's hand on my arm, his brows slightly furrowed with displeasure. Lin Junshu, do you even know what kind of person Yu Feifei really is? We grew up together, yet she'd leave me to die without lifting a finger. How dare you fancy such a heartless woman? Evil. Xiao Jing, have you lost your damn mind? Lin Junshu's pitying stare made Xiao Jing flush crimson, his words turning reckless. Lin Junshu, the day will come when you see her for what she truly is. You won't even see your death coming. Too bad he's as weak as a kitten now. His threats carry no weight. Lin Junshu's piercing eyes turned icy as he scoffed and pushed me away. Xiao Jing, the only reason you're still alive to run your mouth is Yu Feifei. I tugged at Lin Junshu's sleeve, done with Xiao Jing's nonsense. don't waste time on trivial matters. Hearing my words, Xiao Jing stood up and glared at my retreating figure with venom in his eyes. You Feifei, do you have any idea how nauseating that stench of disinfectant clinging to you is? Built like a damn linebacker, you actually think Lin Junshu would ever look twice at you? My face darkened. What does this have to do with Lin Junshu? Has Xiao Jing's brain been waterlogged or something, like a rabid dog biting at anyone in sight? In our past life, Xiao Jing repeatedly said I wasn't womanly at all. I glanced at Zhou Qinghong. Her dancer's skin was pale as snow, a stark contrast to my own sun-kissed complexion, bronzed from years under the sun. To my surprise, Lin Shujin suddenly flashed a grin at my flushed face, revealing a row of gleaming white teeth. I can see exactly what kind of person Yu Feifei is. Don't need anyone's unsolicited opinions. And you actually think Yu Feifei is tall and strong? Lin Junshu gestured in shock at my height in midair, then with one sweeping motion, he pulled me into his arms. 6. My fever-addled brain short-circuited instantly. No wonder Lin Junshu's on the track team. The guy's built like a tank. Among girls, I'm considered quite tall and statuesque, but standing next to him, I looked positively petite. Lin Junshu flashed a shit-eating grin. Ever considered you might be the scrawny one here? My initial discomfort vanished as I turned my head away, bursting into laughter. Though Xiao Jing stood at 178 centimeters, he looked downright puny next to Lin Junshu. It wasn't just me, even the nearby nurses and patients couldn't suppress their laughter. Xiao Jing trembled with rage, his face twisted in utter humiliation. Lin Junshu quickly led me away. Once inside the waiting room, Lin Junshu promptly released my arm with proper decorum. Feifei, your turn is coming up soon. Don't mind that rabid dog. I knew his earlier act was deliberately standing up for me against Xiao Jing to save my dignity. I felt a wave of relief, my expression relaxed, and I gave Lin Junshu a genuine smile. Thanks for helping me back there. You're beautiful. Don't waste a thought on that loser's opinion. Lin Junshu turned away with flushed cheeks, mumbling something too quietly for me to catch. They're probably cursing me for being fever delirious again. As expected, I was kept for a series of medical tests. By the time I got the report, I was drenched in sweat. Thanks to my strong constitution, the fever had already broken. Still, make sure to get proper rest and avoid catching another chill. Compared to drowning while saving someone in my past life, getting pneumonia is a far better outcome this lifetime. I'll make them experience what it's like to lose everything. When we reached the dormitory building, I sincerely thanked Lin Junshu. Lin Junshu, thanks for today. When he goes against Xiao Jing, he's worth 3 of me. You Feifei, we're classmates after all. No need to be so formal. Suddenly he looked at me eagerly. If you really want to thank me, why not come watch me train tomorrow? I don't know why, but I found myself agreeing against my better judgment. In my past life, apart from Xiao Jing and my roommates, I barely had any friends due to my personality. After marrying Xiao Jing, between training sessions, I simply had no time to make new friends. When I returned to the dorm, surprisingly 2 of my 3 usually absent roommates were actually there. Feifei, you're back. Xiaoshu arose from her lower bunk, looking at me with concern. Are you okay? I saw your face was unusually red in the video call. Yeah, I just got back from the hospital. Hearing Xiaoshua's words, I felt a lump forming in my throat. See, those who truly care about me can tell at a glance that I'm unwell. What brings you and Xiaoming, 2 such busy people, back home today? I pretended everything was fine as I placed the medical records on the desk. You're sick. Why wander by the artificial lake and come back smelling like trouble? Xiaoming's voice carried reproach, though her hands never stopped moving. Ugh, I just wanted to see Xiao Jing and Zhou Qinghong crash and burn with my own eyes, but I didn't dare argue with Xiaoming. She's got the sharpest tongue among the 4 of us. The 4 of us in the dorm were the last to register, so we weren't even from the same department. Xiaoming, a top student from the foreign languages department, already had countless companies offering her jobs. The moment junior year started, everyone disappeared into their hectic schedules. Xiaogua, a stunning Chinese literature major, was already a rising idol, constantly booked for gigs. Then there was Xiaoxue, whose family owned literal mines, and me, the swim team rep, a mismatched pair that somehow works perfectly. In my past life, I gave up my chance to join the provincial team for Xiao Jing. They called me a hopeless romantic. When Xiao Jing and I started dating, they kept making snide remarks, telling me to think twice. With sorrow written all over his face, Xiao Jing said my roommate disliked him, but he truly loved me. To avoid putting me in an awkward position, moving out might be the best solution. Eventually, egged on by Xiao Jing, I moved out and gradually lost touch with them. My 3 roommates probably had already sensed something was off back then. Xiao Fei, don't listen to those gossipers on the campus forum, they're just keyboard warriors. With a stern look, Xiaoming methodically reported every post that slandered and insulted me. Suddenly, Xiaoming's expression darkened as she gritted her teeth. What a despicable couple, what's wrong, what got you so worked up? Curious, I walked over, but Xiaoming quickly put away her phone and looked at me with concern. It's nothing, Xiaofei, isn't your training camp starting in 2 days? Don't bother reading those nasty comments on the forum, Xiaoxue, and I will report them for you. Xiaoxue picked up the medical records to review, then took charge of all my afternoon errands, cheerfully linking arms with me. Just rest already, will you? Honestly, I've never seen you this nosy before. Still chasing gossip frontline with a 40 degrees Celsius fever. Having friends like this truly makes me feel blessed. I'd miss half the fun if I didn't watch the underdog struggle, I said with an unapologetic grin, startling Xiaoming and Xiaoxue. They exchanged glances before asking in unison, you don't like Xiao Jing anymore? I shook my head with complete honesty. I don't like him anymore. Xiaoxue studied my expression carefully, confirmed I meant it, and let out a relieved sigh. A pang of guilt hit me. I shouldn't make them worry about me ever again, I repeated firmly. Xiaoming, Xiaoxue, I truly don't have feelings for Xiao Jing anymore. He only had eyes for Zhou Qinghong. The reason he fell into the lake today was because he was confessing his love to her by the artificial pond. They were making out so passionately that they broke through the old railing and tumbled in. Xiao Jing himself told me this in our past life. Whatever affection I might have had is gone. Now it just makes me sick. Xiaoxue pulled me down onto the bed, beaming like it was New Year's Eve. This loser isn't even worthy of our Xiaofei. He's shorter and uglier than Lin Junshu, yet this creep actually tried hitting on me before. Thinks he's some prize catch that everyone fancies. I genuinely felt Xiaofei deserved better. Xiaoming blinked and sighed. That jerk even hit on both Xiaogua and me. I was so shocked it felt like swallowing a fly. No wonder my roommates objected to me dating Xiao Jing in our past lives, so that was the reason. Xiaoming finally showed her phone with undisguised contempt. Just now, Xiao Jing posted on the school forum thanking the student who saved him and Zhou Qinghong, promising generous rewards. 7. He even included a picture of him holding Zhou's hand tightly, saying near-death experiences reveal true love, unlike some cowardly people. I pursed my lips. Xiao Jing might as well have called me out by name. The post went viral instantly. Some comments praised them as a perfect match made in heaven. Others accused me of being a toad lusting after a swan, relentlessly pestering Xiao Jing yet backing off in life or death situations, tarnishing the very concept of love. I was there on the scene. Yu Feifei genuinely didn't enter the water. Yeah, Yu Feifei's arrogance knows no bounds. As the captain of the university swim team, she didn't even bother to jump in to save anyone and just hurled insults instead. If it weren't for Lin Junshu finding the rescue equipment, Xiao Jing and Zhou Qinghong would have drowned for sure. Kick Yu Feifei out of a university. University students are loving the drama, even posting tons of photos showing me just standing by the riverbank watching Xiao Jing struggle. This just confirms what everyone's been saying. Soon after, Xiao Jing personally chimed in, some people aren't even worth a single strand of Qinghong's hair. Seems like Xiao Jing hasn't been taught a lesson yet. Still in the mood to post this mushy romantic stuff on forums. The overwhelming discussions have made me the talk of the town at a university. Xiaoming and Xiaoxue were fuming, but I was the one comforting them. I was the one who led Lin Junshu to the life raft. I couldn't care less about what these people say. My conscience is clear. Upon hearing this, Xiaoming and Xiaoxue were exasperated by my attitude and dragged me to find Lin Junshu as a witness to clear my name. But then the school swim team posted another video. It completely shut those critics down. The recording started when I led people into the bamboo grove, all the way until we pulled Xiao Jing out of the water. Public opinion did a complete 180. Lin Junshu's account directly replied, if it weren't for Yu Feifei, some people wouldn't even get the chance to yap away. Xiao Jing owes Yu Feifei an apology. This reply instantly sparked a flood of responses. Some even responded with sarcastic remarks. I know you Feifei, she's such a hard-working girl. Who the hell goes to an artificial lake to fool around in freezing winter? And now you're all shaming that girl for not jumping in to save them. Disgusting. Where were you high and mighty folks when it happened? Yu Feifei waited outside the piano room for Xiao Jing for 3 hours last night and now she's running a high fever. For God's sake, Xiao Jing, stop taking advantage of Feifei like this. Attached below is the medical record Xiaoxue shared. The booing grew louder, With everyone demanding Xiao Jing and Zhou Qinghong apologize to me, I turned off my phone. An apology? I don't need one, their comeuppance is coming soon. Seeing the situation take a turn, Xiaoming and Xiaoxue finally relaxed. I never expected Bai Qian would voluntarily clear my name. Immediately sent her a thank you message on WeChat. 3 minutes later, Bai Qian responded with an eye-rolling sticker dripping with disdain. Don't think this means I'll yield the provincial team spot to you. May the best candidate win. Well, there goes my emotional moment for nothing. By the way, Xiaofei, I saw Lin Junshu bringing you home today. Does he have a crush on you? Xiaoxue blinked curiously. Does Lin Junshu like me? I think Xiaoxue is overthinking it. This has blown up way out of proportion. Even my swimming coach called me. You Feifei, get some proper rest. We can't afford delays in the upcoming training camp. Making it to the provincial team is a rare opportunity. I knew deep down I'd never let this chance slip through my fingers again. Thanks coach, nothing's going to stop me from training. The next day, my cold had mostly cleared up, so I made time to hit the track. Lin Junshu was thrilled to see me arrive, his gleaming white teeth never leaving that beaming smile. He winked at me before focusing intently on his training. I brought Lin 2 bottles of water, but he barely finished one before rushing off to the restroom. The track field sits right behind the music building. A furious shout echoed through the conservatory entrance the moment I stepped inside. That voice belonged to Xiao Jing. Professor, have you lost your mind? How dare you give my Kleiber competition slot to someone else? This is outrageous. On what grounds? Look at your hands. Do you still think you're the Xiao Jing of old? You brought this on yourself. Who else can you blame? Professor, please forgive me. Give me one more chance. I can't afford to lose this opportunity. A dull thud sounded from inside as Xiao Jing seemed to drop to his knees. If I lose this chance, I'll never become a concert pianist. The music professor's voice carried the frustration of seeing wasted potential. Xiao Jing, you've let me down terribly. I had such high hopes for you, but you couldn't seize this opportunity yourself. This school has no shortage of hardworking piano students. There's nothing more I can do for you. You may leave. Xiao Jing shuffled out of the office dejectedly, bumping into me. By chance I walked straight to the restroom without a sideways glance. Xiao Jing blocked my path through gritted teeth. You Feifei, came to laugh at my misery. Don't flatter yourself. I just need to use the toilet, I said coldly as I sidestepped Xiao Jing. Xiao Jing grabbed my arm with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You were training at the swimming pool. What brought you all the way to the music building to use the restroom? If you're going to make up an excuse, at least make it believable. I shoved Xiao Jing away abruptly. Xiao Jing's parents came rushing in through the door. Seeing her son tangled up with me, Mrs. Xiao immediately started screaming obscenities. You Feifei, you worthless bitch. The doctor said if he'd been pulled from the lake sooner, Xiao Jing's hand could have been saved. Didn't you claim to love my son? Why didn't you jump in to save him? A woman like you will never set foot in our Xiao family's house, not in this lifetime. Hearing Madame Zhao's words, I wasn't the least bit angry. In fact, I smiled brightly. I didn't enter the water because I was running a fever, but out of basic human decency, I found a life raft to save him. Besides, I don't even like Xiao Jing. Why would I want to enter your household? Stop your nagging. I've heard enough. In my past life, that wonderful mother-in-law of mine never missed a chance to nitpick about me. She said a mere swimmer like me wasn't good enough for her pianist son, but if I hadn't risked my life to save his hands, he'd be nothing. The Xiao family's expressions turned absolutely sour, especially Xiao Jing, who stepped toward me with a dark expression. You Feifei, how dare you speak to my mother like that? Apologize to her right now. I came here to laugh at you. Why would I apologize? And show some respect to the person who saved your life. If it weren't for me and the students from a university, you'd have drowned by now. Didn't you say you wanted to thank your savior? I don't need anything. Just get on your knees and kowtow to me, and we'll call it even. I shoved Xiao Jing so hard he staggered, like my past self tumbling to the ground. He stared at me in disbelief. Just then, Zhou Qinghong descended the stairs with red-rimmed eyes that betrayed recent tears. Her parents stood beside her. The moment she spotted Xiao Jing, she lunged at him, raining punches down on his body. Zhou Qinghong snarled through gritted teeth. Xiao Jing, this is all your fault. If you hadn't asked me to meet by the artificial lake, I wouldn't have fallen in or suffered severe hypothermia. You took away my principal dancer position. You've ruined my entire life. Xiao Jing held in pain from the beating. Xiao Jing's mother let out a shriek and charged forward when she saw her son being beaten, while his father began grappling with Zhou's parents. The scene descended into utter chaos, yet I found myself perversely delighted. You see, people never feel the pain until the rod strikes their own back. In my past life, saving Xiao Jing cost me not just a spot on the provincial team, but also branded me as the woman who stole a man while letting Zhou Qingheng drown. Zhou's parents seized the chance to beat me brutally, even threatening to cripple my feet so I'd never swim again. Xiao Jing tried comforting me then, saying the Zhous were grieving parents who'd lost their precious daughter. Their outburst was understandable. Fei, you're so kind-hearted, let's forgive them. After all, we're the ones who wronged them. I must be cursed with backstabbers. If the coach hadn't investigated thoroughly to clear my name, the Zhou family would have fought me to the bitter end. Now it's a case of dog eat dog. I hope those two despicable people stay tangled together forever. Fei, are you okay? As I stepped out of the music building, Junshu Lin came running over, his face dripping with sweat. He looked at me with visible concern. I'm fine. What could possibly happen during a bathroom break? I shook my head with amusement. Finished your training? Yeah, all done, starting closed training tomorrow. Only when Lin Junshu saw I was truly fine did he break into a smile, his eyes sparkling. The campus forums blowing up. Heard Zhou Qingheng and Xiao Jing got into a fight at the music building. That's why I was worried about you. There were quite a few people at the music building earlier, and plenty taking photos and videos. The viral explosion was exactly what I expected. I did glance over, but kept my distance, didn't want any blood splattering on me. As I looked at Lin Junshu, another thought occurred to me. Lin Junshu, what's your dream? Lin Junshu seemed caught off guard by how abruptly I'd changed the subject. Seeing me watching him intently, Lin wiped the sweat from his forehead with burning passion in his voice. Probably standing at the World Athletics Championships, watching our flag rise while my father proudly gives me a thumbs up. Why don't you go visit your father? I'd like to see my family before intensive training starts. It'll give me peace of mind to face any challenge. As I looked at Lin Junshu's radiant smile before me, I recalled that in my past life, his father had passed away from a sudden heart attack around this very time. Lin seemed surprised. His family lived right here in the city, so going home wouldn't be difficult at all. Do I look like a doormat to you? You're right. Once my training camp starts, I won't be able to go home for over 10 days, might as well surprise them with a visit today. I nodded and headed straight for the school gate to go home. After being reborn, my first thought was to visit my parents. I'd caused them so much pain in my past life. 9. Lin Junshu, while the son wishes to care for his parents, they may not wait for him. May we both hold fast to our dreams. They say in his previous life during intensive training, his mother kept his father's death from him until after the competition, fearing it would affect his performance later. Lin Junshu quit track and field out of overwhelming guilt. Now, let's hope Lin Junshu can avoid this regret over the next 3 months. The weather kept improving. I finally won the long-awaited championship at the provincial swimming tournament. Naturally, this secured my spot on the provincial team. Dad proudly displayed my trophy in the most prominent spot at home. As I competed more frequently and won more awards, I pushed myself relentlessly until making the national team. I didn't see Xiao Jing for the longest time after that, only catching occasional updates about him at class reunions. Rumor had it their parents got into a physical altercation back then, resulting in minor disciplinary records for Zhou and Xiao. Rumor had it that Zhou Qingheng was left infertile from the incident, and the Xiao family refused to let Xiao Jing marry her. Outraged, the Zhou secretly hired thugs to break Xiao Jing's leg. They then schemed daily against Zhao's father until the family went bankrupt. They say he quit playing piano and now works as a factory assembly line worker. Seeing my lack of interest in these topics, they eventually stopped bringing them up. Xiaoxue and Xiaoming exchanged knowing glances, as if hinting, "Are you and Lin Junshu getting serious?" Fei, my parents invited us for dinner tonight. They said it's been too long since they last saw us and they miss us. Lin Junshu held my hand possessively while whispering sweet nothings. Alright, let's do it. This weekend, neither of us has training. Marry someone whose eyes light up when they see me. Truly blissful. The end. Story 2. I stood by Shin Yuzhou's side for 15 long years, watching him rise from nothing to become a wealthy tycoon. Yet on our wedding anniversary, he gave me quite the special gift, a positive pregnancy test from another woman. When I confronted him at his office, I overheard him sneering into the phone. "Luo Jianing, she can't even bear children, even a hen lays eggs. What's she good for?" I stumbled away, only to get hit by a car. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in high school. I've forgotten everything, only the memory of that boy I adored remains. After evening study, my deskmate Shin Yuzhou urgently pulled me aside, claiming I'd become his wife in 10 years. I quickly brushed his hand away. Cut it out. Besides, glancing at the boy's figure in the distance. I gave Shin-Yujo an apologetic smile. I already have someone I like. All I saw was Shin Yujo standing frozen in place, his eyes gradually reddening. On our anniversary, I specially reserved a restaurant and insisted they decorated beautifully. This marks the 15th year of marriage between Shin-Yujo and me. How many 15-year chapters does one truly get in a lifetime? Practically everyone who's heard our love story can't help but envy us. We were desk mates in high school, attended the same university, and I stood by him through his entrepreneurial success. From school uniforms to wedding gowns, I devoted my entire youth to Shin-Yujo. Watching the sunset through the window, I sent Shin-Yujo the restaurant's location. He immediately replied with a bunny sticker saying, "Got it, wifey." It's a doodle I made in my free time that he turned into his go-to sticker. Not just that, my anime merch designs even decorate his office desk. They stick out like a sore thumb on his otherwise pristine workstation. Other colleagues would always tease him with a laugh. "President Shin, you're such a love-struck fool." He'd pretend to be angry each time. "What's wrong with supporting my wife's artwork?" The crowd would erupt in envious laughter and banter, timing it perfectly. I slipped into my coat and finished applying lipstick before heading out. The nanny came in through the door carrying armfuls of express delivery boxes. Spotting me, she cheerfully handed me an envelope. "Mrs. Shin, this is for you. It's marked urgent. Must be important." "No." Puzzled, I took it from her. "I'm a freelance illustrator, and haven't received any contract invoices requiring my attention recently." Breaking the seal, a single sheet of paper fluttered out from the document pouch. Picking it up for a closer look, it was an ultrasound report too. Standing outside Shin-Yujo's office building, the howling wind cut through me to the bone. The medical report was explicit: an intrauterine pregnancy with normal fetal development and detectable cardiac activity. In other words, this healthy baby was growing steadily, and the woman's name on the report was all too familiar to me. Song Ishu. She was Shin-Yujo's junior at university. When Shin was invited back to their alma mater to share his entrepreneurial journey, Song served as the student union officer organizing the event. After graduation, when she couldn't find employment, it was Shin-Yujo who took her in. At that time, Song Ishu pleaded desperately with both Shin-Yujo and me. She said she didn't want to return to her small hometown, unwilling to accept earning just $2,000 or $3,000 a month after over a decade of diligent study. She wanted to establish herself in the big city through her own efforts. She refused to be just a housewife whose sole purpose was taking care of children. My heart softened. Strictly speaking, her qualifications didn't meet Shin-Yujo's company standards, but I persuaded him to make an exception and hire her. I know all too well how crucial a career is for a girl from humble beginnings. I wanted to save her. Since joining the company, she's been working tirelessly to prove herself. She traveled extensively with Shin-Yujo, learning the ropes of business negotiations. Gradually, Song Ishu rose to become the head of the core department. If only that line hadn't been on the report, maybe I could have fooled myself into thinking it was just Song Ishu's pregnancy report, unrelated to Shin-Yujo. But Song Ishu left behind a line of delicate handwriting, almost like she was flaunting it. "I'm sorry, Jianing, but don't worry, I'll keep this secret safe." The office was deserted. On this Saturday, I instinctively pressed the button for Shin-Yujo's office floor. I could even feel myself trembling slightly from nervousness. What should I say when I see Shin-Yujo later? Confront him, yell at him? Clutching the pregnancy test report tightly, I suddenly remembered how he'd held me days ago, whispering tenderly, "Jianing, it's alright, take your time with the treatment. Not having children is perfectly fine too. I've been struggling with fertility due to health reasons. This has been weighing on my heart for the longest time." Yet Shin-Yujo never failed to encourage me. When relatives made snide remarks, he'd always be the first to stand up for me. He shouldered all the gossip and criticism himself. I often wonder how I got so lucky to meet someone like him. "We'll have our own children someday." And he did indeed have a child, just not with us, but with them. I came in such a hurry this time that I forgot to text Shin-Yujo beforehand. He had no idea I'd come to the office. As I reached the office doorway, Shin-Yujo was on the phone with his back to me. Couldn't tell who was on the other end, only heard Shin-Yujo's derisive chuckle. "Luo Jianing, she can't even bear children, even a hen lays eggs, what's she good for?" My heart skipped a beat, just like that first flutter when we met, that extra heartbeat. Don't even remember leaving the office. My whole body went stiff, like a corpse walking. Memories of Shin-Yujo flashed through my mind like a spinning lantern. During high school classes, he'd slip me silly notes to make me laugh, and even sneaked me out for unauthorized breaks between evening study sessions. That was my first time ever slipping past security right under their noses. We caught a movie together and held hands in the darkened theater. Later, I underperformed in the college entrance exams, missing my dream university and ending up at an average-tier college with Shin. During college, we could finally be together openly as a couple. He'd take me around the city on his electric scooter hunting for good eats, sharing a single roasted sweet potato with me in the heavy snowfall. He told me, "Jianing, I'll make it big someday," and true to his word, he did. After earning his first pot of gold, Shin career skyrocketed. On my birthday, my friends whisked me back to our university campus amidst the cheering crowd. Shin knelt on one knee with flowers, proposing to me. Our friends wept with joy as everyone got swept up. In the grand proposal, only one person said, "Jianing, think it over again." It wasn't until the screech of brakes behind me that I realized I'd unconsciously wandered into the middle of the road as my body was flung into the air. I hazily recalled that time in high school when Shin and I skipped class, only to be stopped by a boy. Lu Jian stood there in his neatly pressed school uniform, frowning slightly. "Jianing, midterms are just around the corner, stay away from him." Yet I stubbornly resisted and shook off his hand. The last thing I saw before blacking out after hearing about my impending marriage, Lu Jian leaned against the window and silently finished a cigarette. Fresh off completing his research project, moonlight cast shifting shadows across half of Lu Jian's face. He merely sighed and murmured softly, "Jianing, he's not right for you." Jianing, wake up. Someone shook me awake as my friend Su Meng leaned in and said, "We're getting a transfer student in our class." Rubbing my bleary eyes, I reopened my workbook and test papers. I actually managed to doze off during the 10-minute break between classes. Seems like the stress has been really getting to me lately. Whatever, let them come. I kept my head down working on the test paper and muttered, "Who transfers schools during senior year anyway? Stuck on 2 problems. This is tough." I glanced at Lu Jian sitting in front of me. His head bowed as he scribbled notes on his exam paper. The breeze lifted the curtains by the desk, spilling sunlight gently across his shoulders. My ears suddenly burned with warmth, and I quickly averted my gaze. I should ask Lu Jian about those 2 problems later, otherwise, Mom will drag me downstairs to his place for tutoring again tonight. Lu Jian and I grew up together as childhood friends. Our parents were college classmates back in the day. When my parents were busy with work, they'd drop me off at the Lu household where Uncle Lu's family looked after me. Over time, the Lu family practically became my second home. Lu Jian's just the same age as me, yet he outshines me in every way. During family dinners, Mom would always nag, "Why can't you be more like Uncle Lu Jian?" Lu Jian's practically tied with me in Mom's favoritism rankings. I poked him lightly between the shoulder blades. After Lu Jian turned around, I hesitated for a moment before asking, "There are 2 problems I don't quite understand." Normally, Lu Jian would've sarcastically teased me with a few sharp remarks, deliberately trying to provoke me, but today, he just paused briefly and gave a nod. His tone was flat. "Alright." I tilted my head. "Okay, is Lu Jian off his rocker today?" "Everyone, quiet down." The homeroom teacher entered the classroom with a boy in tow, beaming as she announced, "We have a new classmate joining us today, let's give him a warm welcome." The class erupted in enthusiastic applause, except for Lu Jian, who propped his chin on his hand, staring out the window, clapping along. I thought to myself, same old cold fish, that one couldn't even pretend to welcome the new kid. "Hi everyone, I'm Shin Yuzhou." The boy on the podium hadn't put on his uniform yet, just wearing a simple navy blue hoodie. I'm slightly nearsighted and couldn't make out his features clearly. I was about to squint for a better look. Lu Jian in front of me suddenly turned around and tapped on my desk. I quickly averted my gaze and met his eyes suspiciously. "What's up?" "Nothing much," he said with a lazy smile. "Just remembered you wanted to ask me about a problem earlier. Can't let my explanation go to waste, can I?" "Me, damn it." And here I thought he'd changed his ways. Guess I was overthinking it. "What do you want?" I whispered. "How about I treat you to bubble tea, though I'm a bit short on cash lately." Lu Jian chuckled. "I'll take an IOU." We kept whispering and giggling under the stage. The boy on the podium finished his self-introduction. The homeroom teacher pointed to another corner. "Shin Yuzhou, take that seat." But the boy interrupted her. "Teacher, may I sit next to Luo Jianing? I'm a bit nearsighted, so I can only sit in the front rows." The moment he finished speaking, the entire class turned to look at me. Before I could process what was happening, he had already stepped down from the stage and walked right up to me. He said with a smile, "Long time no see, Jianing." 5. When I didn't respond, the boy's smile froze on his lips. You don't recognize me?" I gave an awkward chuckle. So, should I know you? Shin froze momentarily before forcing a polite smile. No worries, I'm Shin, looking forward to working with you. My new deskmate seems a bit odd during class. I kept feeling someone's gaze lingering on me from the side during the break. Su-meng and I walked out the back door for morning exercises. Jianing, Shin called out to me with a smile. I just transferred here and still getting familiar with things. I might need to bother you quite a bit. He hadn't finished speaking, someone had already cut him off. If you know it's troublesome, then don't say it. Lu Jian patted Shin on the shoulder. You'd better ask the class monitor or homeroom teacher about this. Luo Jianing has a terrible memory and forgets things easily. Doubt she can help you. Me, what a jerk. I swung my fist at Lu Jian with mock ferocity, only for him to catch it midair and shove me forward. The voice sounded lazy. What did I say? Something wrong? Who was it that went home at noon to fetch your forgotten homework? I immediately backed down, forcing a sinister smile through gritted teeth. Well, aren't you just the helpful one? When we reached the playground, we lined up in formation. Su-meng tugged at my sleeve and whispered, Jianing, Shin Yujo's been stealing glances at you this whole time. How does he even know your name? Did you two know each other before? I racked my brains for a while before shaking my head. I've never even seen him before. Su-meng teased me with mischief in her voice. So he fell for you at first sight, huh? I pointed at myself with a silly grin. Would any guy actually fall for me at first sight? My looks are painfully average, shoulder-length hair just like every other girl around, with bangs that nearly cover her eyebrows. She'd easily disappear in a crowd if we're talking about preferences. Someone like Li Ruoyan would be more his type. My gaze drifted toward Li Ruoyan. Leading the exercises at the front of the sports field, her high ponytail revealed a slender neck. Sunlight cascaded over her, accentuating her snow-white complexion. Instinctively, my gaze shifted to Lu Jian beside me. He merely flexed his arms absent-mindedly, never once glancing toward the stage. Noticing my gaze, he glanced down at me and said casually, "Oh sorry, am I too tall, blocking your sunlight?" Me. Damn it, yet somehow, I felt an inexplicable sense of relief. The last class of the afternoon was history. As I rummaged through my desk for a notebook, Shin Yujo beside me suddenly whispered, Jianing, are you and Lu Jian close? Without thinking, I replied, yeah, we've grown up together since childhood. Shin Yujo twirled his pen and asked abruptly, so do you live in Changhe Garden? I was surprised. Yeah, you too. We're heading the same way, Shin Yujo said gently, resting his head on his hand. We could walk back together after evening study. I hesitated. He asked with feigned nonchalance, what's wrong? Is this awkward for you? Not really, I said somewhat sheepishly. I usually walk home with Lu Jian, but he takes forever to pack up. I didn't want to keep you waiting. Hearing this, Shin Yujo chuckled nonchalantly. Then why should we wait for him? You can just come with me. This guy is really weird. His tone left me feeling a bit unsettled. But, Lu Jian and I always walk home together. I frowned. We've known each other for over a decade. He lives right below me and often waits for me. Why shouldn't I wait for him this time? Shin Yujo froze in place. The atmosphere turned awkward at that moment. I realized I might have overreacted, waving my hands hastily. I meant we usually go back together. It wouldn't be right if I didn't tell him in advance. Shin Yujo pressed his lips together, returning to his usual good-natured demeanor. It's fine. I wasn't being considerate enough earlier. I was completely out of sorts during the entire evening study session. Something seemed to have slipped beyond my control, unfolding in a way I never anticipated. Lu Jian didn't come back all evening. It wasn't until night study session was about to end he rushed into the classroom, hastily stuffed his textbooks, workbooks, and test papers into his bag, and was ready to bolt. I quickly stopped him. Hey, why the hurry, Jianing? I won't be walking home with you today, Lu Jian murmured apologetically. Go ahead without me, and be careful on your way. The street lights are out on the road by our neighborhood gate. Watch your step, and text me when you get home. He hastily tossed out those words before slinging his backpack over one shoulder and striding out of the classroom. Watching his retreating figure, I frowned. It was rare to see Lu Jian in such a hurry. Let's go, Jianing, Shin Yujo chuckled. Seems Lu Jian's busy today. Perfect timing. His tone was casual yet carried an unmistakable smugness. Just means we don't have to wait for him. We walked back along the street together, with Shin Yujo keeping up a steady stream of conversation, and we actually share the same hobbies, both love painting and sci-fi movies. He even has an autograph from my favorite comic artist. Next time you visit, I'll give it to you, Shin Yujo said with the ease of someone who'd been here for years. not a transfer student, feels like catching up with an old friend. What I expected to be an awkward journey turned out to be quite enjoyable. Let me walk you to the neighborhood gate. Shin pointed at the streetlight. Your route might be poorly lit. Lu Jian was right, the streetlights were out, leaving only faint car headlights to guide my slow footsteps. As I approached the neighborhood gate, Shin waved at me. See you tomorrow. Let's walk home together again tomorrow evening. I smiled and waved back. Sounds good. Right after saying goodbye, I turned and headed toward the gate. Shin suddenly called out to me, Jianing. I turned around to see his face shrouded in darkness. I couldn't make out his expression, only hearing him ask, do you know where Lu Jian went tonight? My heart pounded like a drum in that moment. A vague answer lingered in my mind, yet I forced a smile. He must be busy with something. Shin chuckled softly too. No, he lowered his voice, almost hypnotic in its delivery. He's seeing Li Ruoyan off. 6. As I climbed the stairs, my gaze drifted toward Lu Jian's room. A warm glow from the lamp illuminated the entire window through the curtains, so he'd been home all along. I stared at the chat window with Lu Jian. After some thought, I decided against sending the message. Instead, a red notification dot appeared on the Contacts tab, a new friend request. I tapped open the notification. It was Shin Right after accepting the friend request, he immediately sent a message. The manga artist you like is having a signing event tomorrow afternoon at the convention center in the North District. Wanna go? I gave a wry smile. But we've got makeup classes on Saturday. I was really bummed out for a long time when I found out about the book signing date, but this makeup class is crucial. We're reviewing last mock exams papers. I messed up several questions last time and have been waiting for the teacher's explanations. You okay? Shin comforted me. Missing one day won't hurt. Just call in sick when the time comes. I hesitated, sensing my internal struggle. Shin sent another message. Didn't you adore that manga artist? This is probably his last visit to China. You'll regret it if you miss this chance. The itch was unbearable. When Shin asked again, I muttered, well, I'll see when the time comes. A sound came from outside the bedroom door. I shuffled in my slippers and pressed my ear against the door to eavesdrop. Faint, familiar voices drifted through intermittently. Right, just checking if she's home. I scrambled back to my desk just as 3 knocks sounded at the door. I caught Lu Jian entering through the door in my peripheral vision. He'd changed out of his school uniform into a light blue shirt. Why didn't you message me when you got home? He knows I'm severely nearsighted and can't see well at night. I buried my head in homework. Forgot. Lu Jian stood beside me for a while. Seeing I wasn't engaging, he caught my unspoken message. I won't disturb you then. Any homework problems tonight? I kept flipping textbook pages, stubbornly muttering, nope. Despite his answer, I still pricked up my ears, afraid to miss a single word from Lu Jian. I thought he'd come to explain why he didn't walk home with me tonight. Why didn't he tell me he was seeing Li Ruoyan home? But Lu Jian remained silent, simply standing beside me in quiet companionship. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and looked up to ask, is there something else? I noticed an uncharacteristic seriousness in his expression. Jianing, keep your distance from Shin I was puzzled. Why? After a brief silence, he said, I was afraid you'd get fooled again. I wouldn't have minded if he hadn't mentioned it, but now it reminded me of how he gave Li Ruoyan a ride. At his words, I lowered my gaze and flipped through the book pages. Didn't you lie to me too? 7. I spent the whole night pondering the meaning behind Lu Jian's words. I was still in a daze during class, completely out of it. A commotion erupted at the doorway as the homeroom teacher helped Li Ruoyan into the classroom. Her left leg was wrapped in bandages, and she could only move slowly. Oh, Ruoyan, what happened to you? Did you break a bone? The other classmates gathered around, and Su Ming nudged me, whispering, look behind you. I glanced toward the homeroom teacher and saw Lu Jian standing behind her, holding Li Ruoyan's backpack. Meeting my gaze, he walked straight into the classroom and placed the bag on Li Ruoyan's seat. According to others, Li Ruoyan slipped on a banana peel after yesterday's meeting with Lu Jian, tumbling down the stairs and becoming immobilized. With most other boys in class having left, it was ultimately Lu Jian who took her to the hospital. So Lu Jian went to see Li Ruoyan off yesterday. Just another knight in shining armor scenario. Turns out Shin wasn't lying to me. I kept my head down pretending to read, but my heart was racing. Li Ruoyan thanked Lu Jian politely while I deliberately buried my nose in the textbook, though every word on the page might as well have been gibberish. Jianing, Shin tugged at my sleeve and flashed me a hand signal, reminding me not to forget to request time off. We still had that book signing to attend this afternoon. Alright, I had just stood up to head to the office when someone suddenly grabbed my hand. Lu Jian propped his head with one hand while pulling me closer with the other, as if he had anticipated my move. He said coolly to Shin Yuzhou, "There's still class this afternoon, she can't go." 8. It was lunchtime, and the classroom had already emptied out. Shin Yuzhou's expression darkened. "Lu Jian, I was asking Jianing, not seeking your opinion." With that, they made a move to grab me, but Lu Jian blocked them and looked up to ask, planning to skip class with her again. Shin Yuzhou flushed with rage. "Who the hell are you, her father or mother? Mind your own damn business." Lu Jian ignored him, just looking at me with unreadable emotion in his tone. "Do you really think I'm trying to hurt you?" My eyes met his in an instant. My mind went inexplicably blank. This phrase echoes in my ears like I've heard it 1,000 times. "You feel it too." When did I ever say he harmed me? Shin Yuzhou taunted deliberately. "Just take care of Li Ruoyan. Jianing doesn't need your concern." Before he could finish, Lu Jian suddenly grabbed him by the collar and swung a punch at his face. Caught off guard, Shin Yuzhou was sent crashing into chairs and tables by the blow, clutching his head with a sharp inhale. He was then kicked to the ground by Lu Jian. I stood frozen in shock, still trying to process what just happened. Shin Yuzhou stared at Lu Jian in shock. Clearly he hadn't anticipated Lu Jian would resort to violence. "Don't project your own despicable nature onto everyone else," Lu Jian growled, gripping his collar. "You never change, always willing to do whatever it takes to get your way. Did you make Li Ruoyan fall on purpose?" Suddenly snapping out of my daze, I rushed forward to separate them. "Enough. That's enough. Don't let the homeroom teacher catch us." Shin Yuzhou's face was bruised purple, his lips bitten raw with blood smeared across them. "Why'd you hit him?" I frantically searched for tissues while hurriedly straightening the desks, terrified the school administrators might spot us and drag all 3 to the office for disciplinary reports. Shin Yuzhou gasped sharply. Watching his reaction, I turned to look at Lu Jian. In all my memory, I'd never seen Lu Jian lose his temper like this. Just as Shin Yuzhou had said, the mere mention of Li Ruoyan's name made him lose his composure. Lu Jian frowned when our eyes met. "Jianing." Shin Yuzhou pulled me away while deliberately provoking. "Lu Jian, if you want to stand up for Li Ruoyan, there's no need to take it out on me. Everyone can see what you're doing." I paused mid-step, a bittersweet mix of emotions welling up in my chest. Lu Jian sneered coldly. "You think I'm standing up for Li Ruoyan? This punch is for Jianing. You know exactly how vile you are." 9. Shin Yuzhou told the homeroom teacher he needed to visit an off-campus clinic for an injury since it was the weekend and the school nurse was off. The teacher asked me to accompany him. Everything fell into place naturally. We ended up skipping half of the makeup class. Stepping out of the book signing event, I was greeted by a bustling crowd, clutching the autographed album in my hands. I couldn't hide my delight as I kept admiring it. Shin Yuzhou beside me grinned and asked, "How was it?" "Absolutely amazing." I sighed happily. "I've always wanted a personal autograph. Can't believe this dream actually came true." Turning to him, I asked, "You doing okay? No more nosebleeds?" Shin Yuzhou smiled. "It's nothing, as long as you like it." I sighed again. "Just wasted the whole afternoon not doing practice problems." "Whatever," Shin Yuzhou said indifferently. "Education won't make a difference anyway. Might as well start earning early. All colleges are pretty much the same, just getting in is good enough." The moment he finished speaking, I remembered how attentively Lu Jian would lower his head to explain problems to me every day. Honestly, I still don't understand why these two ended up fighting. From what I know, these two are like oil and water, they just don't mix. Lu Jian has his own social circle, while Shin Yuzhou just arrived and is still adjusting to the new environment. "Did you know Lu Jian before?" I asked casually. "Sort of." Shin Yuzhou narrowed his eyes. He suddenly said with a laugh, "Jianing, what if I told you a secret? Would you believe me?" 10. The evening breeze brushed against my face as everything fell silent around me. Long after Shin Yuzhou finished speaking, I still couldn't snap out of my daze. He could name every single one of my relatives with perfect accuracy, tell me about my parents' hobbies, reveal my secret. "Didn't you feel an instant familiarity when we first met?" Shin Yuzhou coaxed gently. "I know your favorite manga artist, your home address, and your distinctive traits. This is something no one else knows." He chuckled softly. "Because you became my wife after graduation." When those 2 words left his lips, a peculiar feeling stirred in my heart, neither surprised nor puzzled, only profound regret remained. Shin Yuzhou naturally took my hand, our fingers intertwining. "See, this is how we'll love each other in the future." Looking down at my hands, so familiar yet so foreign, Shin Yuzhou Said he returned to high school to make up for what he owed me. Only if I accept his confession can we return to the future together, otherwise, the mission will fail. He'll end up both penniless and disgraced in the future. I asked him, what debt are you trying to repay? He smiled and said, nothing serious, just been too busy with work to check in on you. The two of them walked back in silence. I knew Shinjujo was waiting for my answer. So tell me, I suddenly asked, what will Lu Jian be like in 10 years? Shinjujo answered without hesitation, works at a research institute abroad, total workaholic, hardly any friends either, no family, no kids, just a lone wolf. He scoffed dismissively and added, even a decade later, he'd still be against us being together. Thank goodness you didn't listen to him. Some people just can't stand seeing others happy. I subtly let go of Shinjujo's hand and asked with a smile, then are we happy? It was as if Shinjujo had anticipated this question all along. He exhaled deeply and launched into an enthusiastic explanation. Of course, you're happy, truly content, everyone around us envies what we have. You wake up naturally at home, experimenting with new dinner recipes every day. You freelance as an artist for pocket money, and sometimes accompany my mother shopping. You've always been quiet and not much for socializing, so I made sure to take you traveling whenever I had time. I asked again, didn't I pursue a master's or PhD? Shinjujo said nonchalantly, nope, after my startup took off, you chose to focus on homemaking, but anyone can see how happy you are. Seeing me grow silent, Shinjujo's earlier tension melted away. In its place returned his trademark confident smile. See, now you believe me, don't you? The breeze tousled my hair as the sun dipped below the horizon. I lifted my gaze to meet his. My smile faded as I spoke in measured tones. You're lying. 11. I've never been the quiet, reserved type. I love making friends, socializing, traveling, and exploring different hobbies, so painting is just another hobby of mine. I don't intend to make a living out of it. After years of rigorous study, I have one singular goal: to attend the top university in my country, pursue advanced studies abroad, and dedicate myself to scientific research. Even if I can't join the research institute, I'd still love to be an educator. Shinjujo might be my future partner. How could he not know what I truly want? I could never be content as just a housewife. This was the dream of my teenage years, the goal I've relentlessly pursued, the future I once carved into my heart. Shinjujo froze. After a long pause, he finally asked, you're saying I lied? He frowned. What exactly did I lie to you about? You're my wife. I've already proven that to you. I looked into his eyes. Then am I truly happy? Shinjujo's lips parted, but no words came out. How could you not be happy? He forced a smile. I give you plenty of money, bought you a big house, all your friends envy you. In an almost pleading tone, he coaxed softly, Jianing, I truly need you to come back. I promise I'll treat you right. Can we stay together as lovers? Though I still didn't understand this time travel scenario, I wasn't a fool. The desperation in Shinjujo's eyes wasn't a reflection of his love for me. It was more like he'd already foreseen the disastrous failure of his mission and saw me as his last hope for a comeback. In other words, he was just using me. I'm sorry, but my heart belongs to someone else. I smiled at him and slowly stepped back. If this will make you fail your mission, then I'm sorry. 12. Shinjujo shouted at me, Luo Jianing. His voice trembled as he desperately tried to grab me. Don't I love you? I went to book signings with you, bought you comics, took you to movies, showed you so many places. It's fine if you don't remember me now, but I'm your future husband. Just accept me first, and I'll take you home with me. And it wasn't supposed to be like this, he stammered incoherently. We were desk mates in high school, always sneaking out during evening study sessions. We went to college together, and got married after graduation. This was supposed to be our ending. Shinjujo's eyes were bloodshot, his voice a guttural growl. Did you also get reborn? Are you saying this to get back at me? I said calmly, I don't know what you're talking about. As for the future you mentioned, that's your life. Who I like now, which university I choose, those are my decisions. My future belongs to me alone. I won't force myself to like someone I have no interest in, nor will I gamble my future away to become some housewife for you. He stood frozen as his limbs began fading into transparency. I knew then he'd be the first one eliminated from this game. Ningjia, who do you like? Shinjujo murmured, his lips turning pale. I laughed. It's Lu Jian, 13. When we got back to school, classes were still in session. I slipped in through the back door of the classroom and whispered to Su Meng, did the teacher notice how long Shinjujo and I were gone? Shinjujo, Su Meng asked puzzled, who's Shinjujo? Seeing me frozen, she whispered, Are you hallucinating from period cramps? You went off campus alone to get pain meds when I offered to go with you. I glanced at the seat beside me, completely empty, just as expected, as if no one had ever been here. So failure means vanishing from this world, erased without a trace. I wonder what kind of life Shinjujo is living in that other world, since everyone has forgotten Shinjujo's existence. Then I'll pretend we've never met either. After school, Lu Jian waited for me out of habit, but I dawdled with my backpack, preoccupied with thoughts about Li Ruoyan. Limping slightly, Li Ruoyan thanked him politely. Thank you, but my father's picking me up today. I've already informed the teacher, so you needn't trouble yourself. Only then did I realize Lu Jian had been giving her rides home before. The homeroom teacher asked him to do it. What else are you looking at? Lu Jian looked down at me. Let's head back. You wasted the whole afternoon and didn't pay attention to any of the key problems, the teacher explained. Let's see how you'll handle your homework tonight. Me. I walked home with Lu Jian in the evening. I dragged my feet the whole way. I remembered Shinjujo saying during the day that Lu Jian would end up all alone. How pitiful. What's on your mind? Lu Jian suddenly asked. I smiled and said, nothing much, just wondering what I'll be like in the future. Oh, Lu Jian said casually, then just ask me. I'd know. I froze for a second. You knew. In the future, you'll complete your bachelor's and master's degrees, go abroad for further studies, then return to join a biotech research institute. He drew out his words. Just never got around to dating, lifetime single status, you know. Not only that, but his desk even had the anime merch I designed on display. Zhao suddenly remembered something and frantically rummaged through her school bag. It's gone. That signed art book is missing. Just because Shinjujo disappeared, does that mean everything he gave me has to vanish too? What's wrong? Lu Jian scoffed at my bewildered expression. Lost something? I made a long face. Yeah, I queued all afternoon for it. Found something. Is this yours? Lu Jian pulled a sketchbook from his backpack and handed it to me. My eyes lit up with excitement the moment I looked down at it. How did you know it was this one? How'd you find out? Where'd you get it? Did you buy it? I was chattering away like a sparrow when Lu Jian dug at his ear. Had a friend bring it over. Aren't you a fan of this manga artist? Hugging the art book contentedly, I frowned slightly, but I don't remember telling you that. That's why I say I've got the third eye. I know exactly what you're thinking. Lu Jian nudged me forward. Hurry up. We've got homework waiting back home. If you keep asking basic questions, I won't help anymore. You need to figure out the solutions yourself. Lu Jian's palm was gentle yet strong. These same hands had pulled me up time and again when I hit rock bottom. Streetlights flickered on one by one in the evening, illuminating the alleyway home. The end.